So the link is automatically going to share to my Facebook group. Let's just share it to my regular Facebook. Let's share it to my Twitter. And let's put some music on. We're listening today to Summertime Sadness by Moodwave. It's quite a cool mix. I've only heard a bit of it, but I'm going to gamble on this one because it has a VHS in the picture, and VHSs are awesome, so let's play it. I love that track at the beginning. So this is like a mix of synthwave, chillwave, and retrowave. Basically, put wave at the end, you got yourself a piece of music there. Let's see how many. I don't think we've got any visitors yet. We've got 358 views, which is the name of the bus in my local area. It's the 358 bus. I'll just turn that down a bit. Okay, so today we're reading Spider-Man, Spiderhunt. Let's make that full screen. So this came out just after the ill-fated clone saga, when Ben Reilly, who was the clone of Peter Parker, was killed by the Green Goblin, and it was revealed that he was in fact the clone, and Peter Parker was the real Spider-Man. Now, for many years, they'd misdirected people into believing that Peter Parker was actually the clone, and that was one of those deep story changes that they've realised that they made a bit of a mistake with. It was made to seem like it was planned out from the beginning, that it would be revealed that the Green Goblin was the mastermind behind the whole thing, but I don't think that is exactly what they were going for. I think it's an escape that happened and reset the storyline. So Ben Reilly's not in it anymore, and we're back to regular Peter Parker. Now, this story arc it's kind of something that's brushed over because it just comes at the end of the Clone Saga and before the Gathering of Five saga. Now, the Gathering of Five saga is terrible. It does some really awful things. It was like the first thing I read coming into Spider-Man, actually, and I loved it as a kid, but it's not very good looking back at it. And they revealed that Aunt May wasn't actually killed. No, Aunt May didn't actually die, and that she was replaced by an actor for the last 4 years of her life. It was ridiculous. Like, lots of stuff like that. And then they rebooted Spider-Man. They re-released The Amazing Spider-Man issue 1. And eventually, my favourite writer, Straczynski, came and took over because it was a mess for a long time. They killed off Mary Jane, although that was temporary, and they did all kinds of stuff. But this storyline is really cool. It's like an event that spread out through the 3 Spider-Man comics that were out at the time, which are Amazing Spider-Man, Peter Parker Spider-Man, and Spectacular Spider-Man. And it's a really cool event. Basically, Spider-Man is being hunted by loads of people because he has a bounty on his head for $5 million. And the Punisher's involved, and Spider-Man is framed for murder. And it leads to the Identity Crisis story, which is my favourite Spider-Man story. I read it yesterday, and it was so great. I loved it. Okay, let's get started. Don't know about the audio levels. I'm always a little insecure about the audio levels, but I think I'll be able to be heard. Okay, Spiderhunt. Let's get started. So there are 3 different writers here. There's Howard Mackie, 4 writers in fact. J.M. DeMatteis, who a lot of you may know for writing the Craven's Last Hunt storyline, which was incredible. Lots of really good stories in Web of Spider-Man. Tom DeFalco and Todd DeZago. Now, a lot of these people I don't really know, but they all did such a good job. And I mean, I've probably read their stories before. I've read a lot of 90s Spider-Man after this point. So, although this was towards the end, I think it was 1998. As we can see, pencilers, we've got John Romita Jr. and many more. John Romita Jr. is my personal favourite, and his style is quite impressionistic in the early chapters here. It kind of looks unrealistic at times, which I think is really cool. A lot of people look really big and bulky, which is kind of strange. It's very experimental. Okay, let's get started. Have a quick GOW. Spider-Man, Spiderhunt. Okay, I haven't read Spider-Man comics in a while, so I'm really happy to be back on it. First of all, may I say that this cover is beautiful. Illustrated by John Romita Jr. and Scott Hanna, who is the inker. And Scott Hanna's inks really are really highlighted in this chapter because it takes place in the snow. There's lots of really dynamic shading, and it looks great. But this is definitely my favorite Spider-Man cover that I've ever seen because look how it's beautiful. Okay, our story begins. So this is called Who Did Joey Z? I'm going to pronounce Z the American way, as much as it makes me die inside when I do. Our story begins in New York City on a winter's eve outside a midtown Manhattan police precinct. It ends, well, you'll just have to stick around to see where it ends. Will you look at that, Jack? Another one, courtesy of our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. You'd think the Wallcrawler would be busy enough with half the city trying to collect the $1 million that Osborn's put on his head. Give me a hand cutting that poor slob down. Nah, let's get Detective Snipes to supervise this booking. So, straight off the bat, we find out that the Green Goblin has put, Norman Osborn has put a $1 million bounty on Spider-Man's head because he's the Green Goblin and he wants to destroy Spider-Man's life. His plan for doing that is pretty intricate in this chapter. He hasn't gotten his hands dirty since getting promoted out of uniform. I think he may be starting to cop an attitude now that he's wearing a suit and riding a desk instead of a patrol car. Time to remind him of where he came from. Oh, Detective, we've got a situation outside that requires the immediate attention of a supervising officer. You might want to bring a pair of scissors and a blowtorch. Huh? A few minutes later. Jeez, yuck. You say this is normal? It happens all the time? That's right, Detective. 3, sometimes 4 times a week. They don't call him the web slinger for nothing. Wonderful. One of you officers want to give me a hand here? This guy is pretty much dead weight. Nah, Detective. You got it all under control. Yeah, we're surprised you got him down this quickly, Detective. It usually takes much longer. Lucky me. Now what do we do? Open it up, Detective. Clean him up and run him through fingerprints. You can usually count on a list of priors as long as your right arm. Spidey only drops off the most serious skills. Open it how? To the best of my knowledge, at this stage, your bare hands work best. Of course, it helps that the subject is cooperative, which they usually are. Anything to get out of that gunk. So the other police officers are handing him dollar bills, probably because it's a bet and they're winding up the detective. It's pretty mean. Wonderful. You hear that, buddy? I need your help if we're going to get you out of here before spring fall. You listening to me? You might want to speak up, Detective. That stuff gets in their ears sometimes. You might want to try. Shut up. Someone call a medical examiner now. What you talking about, Detective? He's just. Joke's over, Jack. This man is dead. So we got someone dead in a web that looks like Spider-Man's web. So I think Spider-Man's been framed for murder before, but this is at a time in the story where it's particularly tough for him because there's a bounty on his head at the same time. So the police and other people are going to be against Spider-Man. Spider-Man killed him. A short time later, at the home of Peter and Mary Jane Parker. I've got it, hero. Thanks, MJ. I'm a lucky guy. Hello? What? Are you sure? Yeah, he's right here. Peter, it's the Bugle. You're going to want to take this. A short time later. We got him this time, boys. I want to nail him once and for all. I've been dreaming about this moment for years. You be ready with your camera, Peter, my boy. I don't want to miss a thing. Ben, I don't have to tell you what to do. Get the facts. Get the story. So that's Ben Urich, who's a reporter for the Daily Bugle. He's one of my favorite side characters. I love everyone that works for the Daily Bugle, actually. All the characters are particularly cool. We got a print in 1 hour. Look at this. We're the only media on the scene. My contact in the medical examiner's office gave me a good one. We got an exclusive on this one, boys. Don't let me down. Oh, we missed a shot of Peter's face because my face was blocking. John Romita Jr., I think, draws Peter Parker really well. He's been doing it for a good, at this point, a good 15 years. We won't, Jonah. This has got to be a bad dream. The victim's name is Joey Z, Mr. Rick. A street criminal. Plenty of priors, but nothing major. The ME is giving the apparent cause of death as asphyxiation, Mr. Urich. Though an official cause will have to wait until after an autopsy. You know the routine. Yeah, I do. Any suspects yet, Detective Snipes? You're joking. There's only one. I don't need this. Bad enough that Osborn has got everyone believing that Spider-Man is the bad guy for beating him up. Him! The Green Goblin! But he's been hiding behind his new public relations campaign, hiding behind his money. So Norman Osborn came back seemingly from the dead, and he's trying to make people believe that he's not the Green Goblin. He was never the Green Goblin, is what he's trying to say. Because it was revealed by Ben Urich in a piece of journalism that he published. A tragedy which, unfortunately, was inevitable. If only people had heeded your warnings long ago, Jonah. Perhaps this could have been avoided. It's Norman Osborn. He looks huge in this panel. Again, as I say, sometimes John Romita's art style gets a bit surreal, and this is one example of it. I quite like it. It's very unrealistic looking here and blocky, but it works. It looks really scary. I do hope, Jonah, that the Bugle will be throwing every resource it has at the story. This type of reckless vigilantism can be tolerated. Might I suggest that you begin with, if you don't mind, Norman, I'll handle it my way. For now, I'm still the publisher of the Bugle. You are indeed, Jonah. I simply only own half of your illustrious bastion of journalistic integrity. Run with the story as you see fit. It just eats me up inside to know that someone like Spider-Man is running free tonight. So Norman Osborn is completely a manipulative dick in this entire story. He knows, by the way, that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, as he has found out in the movies and the cartoon. He found out in the comic a long time ago. That at this very minute, without his costume to hide behind, he could be walking among us, undetected, and planning his next assault. I love the way they're just staring at each other. The psychological pressure is on. I just want your assurance, Jonah, that you will do all in your power to assure that Spider-Man never shows his face in the city again. I know that I can count on you, Jonah. Norman's gotta have something on Jonah. The Jonah I know would never take half of what Norman's been throwing at him. He would have never freely given over half of the Bugle. Not to Norman Osborn. Jonah knows. And we all know. And yet, we all let Norman Osborn lead us through this carefully orchestrated game. I've got all the pictures I can get, Jonah. I'll drop them off on my way home. I want him brought in, boys. I've just gotten word from the mayor. The apprehension of Spider-Man is now the top priority of the New York police force. Again, just want to compliment Scott Hanna's inks. Again, he really captures the shadows and makes it the story. It like really brings out the darkness in the story. It gets a bit more lighthearted as we go along, but this is probably one of the darker Spider-Man stories. But it goes there without getting too edgy or too angsty, which I like. Because one of the things I didn't like about comics in the 90s is they were way too grim and edgy. Including the Clone Saga. I'm not really big on that. I've got all the pictures I can. Oh yeah, I've read that bit. That's the next part. A short time later. It's Norman, it's gotta be. Who else would want to set up Spider-Man like this? I should start with the short list of 24. Just go straight for the Fortune 500 of most wanted supervillains. Who am I kidding? It could be anyone. Spider sense tingling. On top of the building, it's the Green Goblin. That's it. We're gonna finish this tonight, Norman. Why couldn't he have just stayed dead? He took a goblin glider through his heart, for crying out loud. Even a vampire has a decency to stay dead after the equivalent. And he's worse than any vampire I've ever run into. He sucks the life's blood from everyone and everything he's ever run into. My girlfriend Gwen, his own son Harry. The madness has got to end. Goblin! You wanted me! I'm here! Gone. Playing head games. I'm not gonna play, Goblin. Not again, Goblin. I won't play on your terms. Not again. Freeze! Under normal circumstances, I'd make some comment about the weather and the relative lack of insulating properties of spandex, but I'm not in the mood tonight. Shut up and keep your hands in the air. Easy, McDonald. We'll handle this by the numbers, just like they taught you in the academy. Just because your first caller is wearing a red and blue bodysuit is nothing to get nervous about. Spidey, do me a favor and cooperate. We need to take you in for questioning. My partner here is a rookie. A very scared rookie from the looks of the way his gun is shaking. And I've got to admit, I'm a little anxious myself. Been on the job 15 years and only had to fire my weapon once. I'd rather not go for... No, twice. I'd rather not go for number 3. I might glad to hear that, officer. But you see that there has been a serious mistake. Shut up. We don't want to hear it. Drop to the ground now or... He's going to... In circumstances like this, I thank the day I was bitten by a little irradiated arachnid. I'm assuming, officers, by the lead, which is by the lead which is filling the air, that we're at the end of the negotiating phase of our meeting. So, I bid you adieu. Early the next morning at the Daily Grind coffee shop. Do you think people will really believe you did it, Peter? After all you've done for the city? Why not? Remember how quickly people turned on the Spider-Man when the Kingpin framed him for murder recently? I was able to prove my innocence then, but a second time? I'm no Captain America or Reed Richards. I could very easily see people believing that Spider-Man is capable of murder because they want to. Because they've been conditioned to believe it. I just wish I had more folks like Shirley's son Devon on my side. I'm not sure who Devon is, but I'm sure he's relevant to something that happened previously in Spider-Man. I don't care what the papers say, Buzz. There's no way that Spider-Man did it. I know him, Mama. He would never. Unfortunately, son, he does hide behind a mask. It makes one wonder. So what's the plan? For clearing your name and for finding the real killer? I have no idea, MJ. I'm not the world's greatest detective. I don't know how to prove it was me. Maybe you need some help, Peter. You know Joe's dad is a private investor. Don't go there. So Joe is Jill Stacy, who's the cousin of Gwen Stacy, who was killed by the Green Goblin. So it's all connected to previous dealings in the story. What the? So Green Goblin's back. This really reminds me of the scene in the Spider-Man movie where he's at the cafe and the Green Goblin appears in the street in Spider-Man 3. Runs outside. Where? Oh, you! Peter, what's wrong? What did you see? It was him, MJ. It was Norman. There's only one way to deal with a man like him. The executive officers of Osborn Industries. Mr. Parker is here to see you, Mr. Osborn. He is not in the appointment book, sir, but he insists that he is an old friend of your family. He is indeed. Send him right in, Lucille. $1 million, Peter. That is quite a bounty to carry on one's head, don't you think? My people tell me that the public sentiment regarding Spider-Man was at an all-time low even before this latest incident. Now, with these latest accusations splashed all over the headlines. What do you want, Norman? Having trouble keeping that temper of yours under control, Peter. Can't afford to let loose without the mask to hide behind, can you? What do you want? That which I have always wanted, Peter. I want you to know that there is nothing you can do to stop me. AR202 says, hashtag hello. Hashtag hello, AR202. Welcome aboard. So I think I'm trying not to make Norman Osborn sound too much like Seto Kaiba, but they're very similar. Um, I want you ruined. I want your family ruined, as you ruined my boy, as you ruined my good name. Nothing else will do. Well, so I don't know if the fact that his son Harry was Green Goblin was revealed in the story, but I think it might have been. We're done here, Parker. You know the way out. A short time later. Lights out, elevators come to a stop. How unoriginal. Prepare yourself, man. Anything could happen. And Mr. Osborn. We went through, Norman. I love how he just grabs him from the elevator. It's hilarious. And I do prefer our conversations take place away from the prying eyes of your video cameras. Hope you don't mind the cold. You are so easy, Parker. You almost take the fun out of it all. All your little buttons just light up right up and beg to be pushed. Oh man, Norman Osborn is just so evil. It's great how consistent his characterization is. Look, I've gone and made you angry. You want to beat me again? Don't you? Kill me, perhaps? You had to take some satisfaction in our last encounter despite the public relations cost. You just make it so easy. I'm a busy man, Peter. Let's rush this along to its inevitable conclusion. Without a worthy opponent, life is simply not worth living for a man like me, and you never were a worthy opponent. Goodbye, Peter. So this is insane. He's just walked off the building. No! I'm not going to let you die on me, Norman. See, Parker, you are so predictable. This is why you will never win. So he knew that would happen, and now it's going to look like Spider-Man's threatening him. Classic Osborn. I would have allowed you to fall. You are a born loser, Parker. Always were. He's got Mr. Osborn. Oh, no more, not again. What do you want from me? Oh, see, he's being shot at now. Great, cops are arriving just in time to see me running another attack on Norman. Spider-Man is forced to swing off into the storm. Look at him down there. Hamming it up for the police. I'm sure the media won't be far behind. He is playing me like a... What the? And this is weird because he's just disappeared and the Green Goblin has appeared up there. So something's going on. The Goblin. But how? If it's not Norman. Who? Several hours later. I love how he just webs up his hot chocolate or coffee. I didn't do it. You have your police lab do an analysis of the sample you have there before it dissolves in an hour and compare it with the dead man. You'll see. Later at the home of Arthur Stacy. He is the operator of an... AO202 says, what is the book name, please? This is Spider-Man Spiderhunt. And it is... well, that's the name of the trade paperback. I found it on Comixology. And it is a great one. It's followed by Identity Crisis, which is my favorite Spider-Man story. But yeah, this is... it's a great story. It starts off quite dark, and it kind of lightens up a bit as we go along, but it's a really tough, stressful one for Spider-Man. Later at the home of Arthur Stacy, he is the operator of an internationally renowned private investigation firm. His family has had dealings with Spider-Man in the past. His brother, Captain George Stacy, and his niece Gwen both died under suspicious circumstances involving the web-slinger. Still, Arthur bears no malice towards Spider-Man. He's not a man to seek revenge or to place blame until he has thoroughly investigated the facts. All he seeks is the truth. A truth which lies with a man behind a mask. A truth which will be presented to him in no time. The time is now. The man is here. I need your help. Let's see what we can do, young man. I've been wanting to speak to you for some time. The end. So, this is a really weird chapter coming up. And it's written by D. Mateus, I think that's how you pronounce his name, the writer of Kraven's Last Hunt, who normally writes like really weird Spider-Man stories. I've seen a lot of him in the web of Spider-Man comics. And this is from Spectacular Spider-Man. It was a big event that was going out throughout loads of Spider-Man comics. This chapter is called Angst. You feel anxious, no? A disquieting, disoriented sense of danger. A current of fear and displacement, which slithers and coils like white noise around your consciousness. It makes you want to crawl out of your skin, no? It's a sensation I know all too well. I think what Diamatis does best is his narration, which is really interesting. I remember I saw a review on Amazon for this book that said they didn't really like the dialogue, but they loved the narration. I think the dialogue's okay. It's nothing amazing, but the narration is the best part, I feel. All of us do. I'm presently manipulating your body's electromagnetic field to amplify that feeling, to thrust it through your mind like a flaming dagger. But you needn't be overly concerned. My principal doesn't want you dead or even broken. He merely wishes to gauge the limits of your endurance. So he's hooked up to some wires and being electrocuted. It doesn't look like fun. Both mental and physical. How many of us souls are suffering right now? Have we ever known a time when the world was in the grip of such a terrible disease? Such hunger, such brutality and depravity? Perhaps we have, but never, I think, in such extremes. Nor have we had society so capable of giving us the illusion of comfort, of wealth and security, while we continue to struggle and die within ourselves. You seem disturbed, my old friend. Does the suffering of our test subject touch something within you? Haven't you learned that the only way to survive hell is to become the devil himself? No, you're right, Dr. Angst, but there are no buts, my brutish disciple. The only reality is life in the pit. Our test subject appears to be struggling, attempting, no doubt, to understand what's happening to him. So, according to most databases about Spider-Man or Marvel heroes, they will tell you that Spider-Man has the highest willpower out of any Marvel hero, which is something I definitely believe, and that's why he's one of my favourite heroes, because he's got the strength of will to carry on through any situation. Attempting, no doubt, to understand exactly what's happening to him. I wonder what thoughts, what memories are drifting through his mind. Very stirring, Peter. Jonah showed me the photos you shot for this Sunday's piece on the AIDS hospice. Emotional stuff. I nearly wept just looking at them. Yes, well, I know how sensitive you can be, Mr. Osborn. After all we've been through together, Peter, you should really call me Norman. These photos are truly amazing, my boy. You managed to capture hope in the eyes of the hopeless. That's what I've always admired in you, your ability to find the good in even the worst situations. Norman Osborn is such a sociopath. It's amazing the how he keeps his two different faces in public. It's really interesting. He rarely ever slips as well. Some would call this talent naive or even foolish, not me. If that's all, Norman, I've really got to go. Uncle Pete! Normie, what are you doing here? Grandpa's going to teach me about newspapers. Isn't he great, Uncle Pete? Oh, he's a real prize. By the way, Peter, I assume you've heard about the body the police recently found. A local mobster whose street name was, I believe, Joey Z? Seems he was suffocated by what appears to be webbing. Interesting, no? Is Norman taunting me because he's responsible for that murder, or... Out of my way! Huh, Robbie? You okay? This must be it, final showdown. I never thought Joe Robinson would ever pull the trigger. Can you blame him? I heard Robbie turned in his resignation over a week ago, but Jameson somehow convinced him to think it over. A lot of good that did. Robbie is quitting? Robbie Robertson has always been the moral conscience behind the Daily Bugle, but he's definitely had enough of Norman Osborn being in charge of it, and that's affected how Jonah presents the paper as the publisher. It's an interesting dynamic. You people standing around for the latest scoop? Okay, it's official. I'm out of here. Robbie, wait. The Daily Bugle is your life, your home. Not anymore, Peter. I've had enough. I was willing to give my all while I still respected Jonah when this paper stood for something. That changed the moment Norman Osborn strutted in here. It will change again. You have to give it time. No. I don't. My decision's fine. Jonah, we need to talk. You can't let him go. The Bugle needs Joe Robinson. He's the best thing that ever happened to this paper. You have to make him an offer. He can't. Oh! How I run my paper is my business, Parker. Last I checked, you are only freelancer. You stick to photography and leave the big decisions to me. It's all your fault, Osborne. But the day is coming when justice will be served. This is kind of a Chekhov's gun if you've read issue 800 of The Amazing Spider-Man. I'm actually really amazed at the continuity when I think about it. Memory is the most powerful weapon of torture. Everyone is burdened by certain mistakes, regrets, or failures. They're like ghosts which live in our heads and can torment us more than any living person. Who or what haunts you, Spider-Man? He suddenly sees them waiting and anxious, his beloved Uncle Ben, Gwen Stacy, the first woman he ever truly loved, his father, Captain Stacy, Ben Reilly, the closest he had to a brother, and a baby whose name he can't bear to say. Their eyes blank, their mouths slack, they begin to wail in pain, in torment, in fury, and their cries rip through him like a dull and rusted knife, gnawing away at his soul, bit by precious bit. I tried to save every last one of you. I'm going to say this is the darkest and most angsty, I mean, the chapter is called Angst, this issue gets. It kind of cools down after that. It's got a good balance of hot and cold, of upsetting and joyful. I think it's a really good book. Vague memories flitter like gossamer in the mind of Angst's disciple. Memories of torment and torture, not at all dissimilar to this one. The disciple is called Sir. With the memories come a profound sense of compassion, but Sir views emotions as a sign of weakness, and weakness is to be despised. So you kind of feel sorry for this guy. He's one of the bad guys, but I think he's been conditioned to be like that. I think he's a Daredevil bad guy as well. I didn't really know who he was when I first saw this. Conquered and obliterated completely. This isn't right, Peter. There's so much more to the past than misery. The past is also full of hope and joy and love. It helped make you into who you are today. It is the source of your strength, your courage, your selflessness. You've always tried your very best, Peter, and so much more. You've given of yourself in ways few men would dare. You're not a failure, you're a hero. But according to these readings, the test subject is feeling calm and at peace. Impossible. My principal will be most displeased. You ask me, Parker. I'd have to say Norman Osborn's a hero. The guy pulled us out of the red and brought a lot of people back on the staff. Without him, the Bugle might have had to declare bankruptcy, and you know how that can devastate a company's morale. That may be true, but sorry to interrupt when you're talking high finances, Tiger, but we had a lunch date. We certainly did, Mary Jane. You alright, Peter? You look a little down. It's, this place. It hasn't been the same since Osborn came aboard. You don't have to work here, you know. Yeah, but this job allows me to keep a close eye on him. Need I point out, he also gets to watch you. Let's try to forget Osborn and enjoy our lunch. By the way, am I clear with Aunt Annie yet? Well, at least she doesn't think you're having an affair any longer. Look at Norman, watching them through the blinds. Oh, remember how mad she got at me? She got me? You really let her have it. I actually told her you were Spider-Man. And of course she didn't believe it. Why would she? It sounded so absurd that she realized she was acting totally ridiculous and apologized on the spot. I swear, Peter, I don't know what's gone into her lately. Hey, Ben. Peter. Mary Jane. Something bothering you, man? Osborn wants a face-to-face. Probably wants to give me the boot. Not you too? Somebody else got fired? Haven't you heard? Robbie's gone. That's no surprise. I know his wife's been on him to make a change, and I can't blame her, but I'll go down fighting. I'm giving that monster a piece of my mind. Ben Urich is, like, the integrity behind the Daily Bugle. He's got the most integrity. He's a good moral guy. I love Ben Urich. He's a great character. Han? Can we put lunch on hold for the next few minutes? No prob. Robbie quit? You wanted to see me, Osborne? I'm here, you miserable son of a... Do take a seat, Mr. Eric. And I'd appreciate if you curbed your tongue. Oh, sorry. You obviously expect some kind of angry confrontation, but that's not my intention. This book you wrote, Legacy of Evil, which accuses me of being the Green Goblin, has caused me considerable grief. I've read it a number of times, and it's based on hearsay, innuendo, and a distortion of facts. The kind of sensational tripe you'd expect in a supermarket tabloid next to the latest Bigfoot sighting. A seasoned reporter like you shouldn't have published such rubbish. You're a valuable member of the Bugle family, Ben. I don't want to fire you, and I won't. Instead, he just wants to threaten him. You won't? No, for all the harm you've caused me and my family, I believe you were sincere in your efforts to expose the Green Goblin. Too bad you targeted the wrong man. That's why I'd like you to try again. I'm enlisting you to track down and unmask him. I want you to clear my name and put an end to that mania. How'd it go, Ben? What did Norman say? We'll talk later, Pete. I'll share with you, Pete. Ben is going to help me nail the true Green Goblin. Considering your relationship with Spider-Man, you may want to pitch in. I want the real Goblin brought to justice, and the Osborn name exonerated. I love that lettering there. It's great. Anytime we see big colourful letters, I'm a fan of that. It's so 90s. It's my aesthetic. Ah, the lovely Mrs. Parker. Always a pleasure to see you, my dear. Norman Osborn, man. What a creep. That devil deserves an Academy Award for his portrayal of a human being. Fear, as someone once noticed, is the mind killer. It destroys peace, it consumes love, it reduces man to his natural state, an animal. Sir, if you'll please approach the subject, very good. We shall now intensify this session, no? What is it that terrifies you, Spider-Man? When in your entire life did you experience an overwhelming fear that truly eclipses all others? So, a very strange piece of art here. I'm sorry, Peter. So very sorry, but I have some bad news. Go away, I don't want to hear it. I just don't. I'm sorry, son, but you must. There's been a terrible accident. I'm afraid your mother and father... Oh, no, Uncle Ben, no, no! So he's like pretending to be Uncle Ben. This is really messed up. No! We appear to have struck a nerve now. No? An early childhood trauma, unless I'm mistaken. Excellent. Did I say something to upset you, sir? You would be well advised to attend to our subject before he does that. Ow. Careful, sir, careful. He mustn't be injured. My principal was quite clear about that. He wants the subject returned in pristine condition. This is such a an odd chapter. I think it's the fact it's really strange B-list villains trying to mess with Spider-Man's mind. It makes it like a really weird chapter. So I'm sorry, the comic reader has crashed. Let's just do this. Let's fix it. Give it a second to load. Comixology is really good. A few minor hiccups appear when you have it in reader mode for too long. But apart from that, it's great technology. There's really no downside to using it. And not even I would dare disappoint Norman Osborn. Just hold him while I... There! He's injected something into Spider-Man. That was rather disruptive now. No? No, we'll have to reattach him. I got no and now confused. To the electromagnetic field amplifier before we can return to work. Peter, I have Marina's class later this afternoon. Can we go to lunch now? Sure, honey. I don't have much of an appetite anymore, but I... So at the moment, both Peter and Mary Jane are doing their postgraduate. I think their master's degrees. So Mary Jane's studying psychology and Peter's studying science, of course. I think he's studying physics. It's cool. I don't know if Peter finishes. I don't know if postgraduate and PhD are the same thing in America. I think they could be. if that's the case, Peter doesn't finish doing his degree because he's doing it at the moment still in the comics. Is something wrong? My spider sense just kicked in big time. I could feel incredible danger coming from within Osborn's office. Go, Mary Jane, get out of here, but just go. Even Norman switching into his goblin garb, or he's in serious trouble. Stay back. I won't let you harm my grandson. I swung myself in from the men's room window, so that it would look like I was web-slinging past the building when I heard the ruckus. Yeah, that'll fool everyone except Norman. Based on the way his bodyguards are splattered across the room, I'm guessing this character isn't here to renew a Bugle subscription. There's a new playmate, Norm. Don't know, we haven't been formally introduced. Grandpa, Spider-Man's gonna beat you up. Oh great, I mainly came to protect Normie, but the kid's terrified of me. Man. It's interesting, Normie really, hasn't seemed to have aged at all since 1999, because he still looks like that at the moment in the comics. Quite funny. Look, the webhead's after Osborn again, and he's brought reinforcements. No, I'm sure Spider-Man's here to help. Hey boss, are employees eligible to collect that reward you posted on him? No. But I'll give you an extra 15 minutes for lunch if you nail that web-slinging weasel. I've got to move this fight away from Normie. A simple backflip will take us out the window and... Huh? Helicopter? Of course. That explains how this clown entered Norman's office. But I'll have to go for a ride if I want to learn why. Even as Spider-Man continues to dangle above the city streets, ambulances are called for Osborn's unconscious bodyguard. You don't want an ambulance for yourself, sir? No, I'm fine. Why would he want an ambulance? Nothing happened to him. I want my men to get the best medical assistance money can buy. They were all injured while defending my grandson. Thank God little Normie's safe, if anything happened to him. Hey, I know you, name's Sir, right? You fought my old bud Daredevil a few months back. See Daredevil 364. I remember it. You were a loner with severe psychological issues. Weren't you incarcerated in Ravencroft? Nice to see you're moving up in the world. Helicopters don't come cheap. He's literally moving up in the world in a helicopter. It's obvious that you were hanging out with a better class. Was it something I said? Excuse me, but somebody's got to keep this conversation alive. Surprised by the unexpected blow, Sir momentarily loses consciousness. But Spider-Man instinctively catches his massive opponent, and then, sheesh, that's gratitude for you. I saved your life, and you thanked me by running away. Not that I'm complaining, mind you. I hope you don't think you can outrun my handy-dandy webbing. Oh, come on. Aren't you taking this strong and silent image to extremes? If I didn't know better, I'd say you were practically daring me to follow. Always happy to oblige. Why don't you warm up the cappuccino machine while I scamper up the ladder? Uh-oh. Metal tentacles are dropping from the copter. My spider sense is warning me that they... The technology was so weird in the 90s. They took some real liberties with it. And got very creative at times. I remember in the 90s X-Men cartoon, Xavier had a flying wheelchair. And I don't think he ever had one of those in the comics. May have though. I don't really know X-Men comics as well as I know Spider-Man. It's been a long and eventful day. Perhaps we should end our experiment for now. After this injection, we shall release the subject back into the world, and he will have absolutely no memory of what transpired here. But there will be other experiments in the future, more complex, more interesting. Today was just the start of a most beautiful relationship, and I'm not a lab rat. Fascinating. After all he's experienced, the subject shouldn't be capable of speech at this stage, let alone movement. His will, his endurance are far beyond exceptional. No wonder my principal is so fascinated by him. Despite his fears, his pain, his insecurities, he continues to struggle. I almost wish I could spare him further suffering. Now, sir, crush him! Sir hears the desperation in his voice, and views it as a sign of weakness. You little tin gods always make the same mistake. You forget that people are more than automatic responses and instinctive reactions. We're hearts and souls. There are parts of us which can never be violated, no matter how badly you mess with our minds. Whoever you are, you answer for what you try to do to me. I swear you will. What's wrong with you, sir? Why don't you stop him? Obey me, you idiot. Stop him before I... Sir? What are you going to do? Killing me is not in your psychological profile. You could take me to the police, but I sincerely doubt they'll believe a masked vigilante with a price on his head. You tell Osborn that this game can't go on. I'm going to take him down if it kills me. And here's a promise from me to you. When he takes the big fall, so will you. Hot-headed young man, isn't he, Dr. Angst? He isn't the one who frightens me. No. Someone in his tenacious spirit, his refusal to lose hope in a truly hopeless situation, has obviously touched my former disciple profoundly. But unlike Spider-Man, Sir has no code against killing. So this is setting up for Sir coming back later on in the story, as he does. But I don't think he appears in very many Spider-Man stories, to be honest. The Sensational Spider-Man, a double-sized blockbuster, Spiderhunt Part 1. So now we're at a story that was the prologue. And let's get going. Record it on. All proceeds are paced. The subject displays no adverse reactions to the program, save for a slight sporadic tremor in the lower frontals. Positive neural responses to the system's adrenal increments. So the professor's back. Dr. Angst is back. Anticipated signs of epidermal resolution now apparent. Yes, my friend. I'm quite confident that this final treatment shall ensure the desired results. Give you the capabilities necessary to become him again. So, who is this mysterious figure? Is it Sir, who appeared in the last chapter? Or is it someone else? Is it Norman Osborn? Is it Harry Osborn, presumed dead? We'll see. The music starts. So here's one thing I like about this chapter and a later chapter. It's the text that gives a feel of what's going to happen in the story. It's kind of the introduction text. The fluttering wings of anxious apprehension. The Manhattan Marriott. Annie, slow down, honey. What's the rush? Greg, you know I'm not very comfortable with this. Why, the very idea of it. Oh, it scares me. Oh dear. I wish it could all be over with. Already, that's all. And when I designed these cybernetic costumes, it was with the idea that we would be able to make enough money to retire. Buy that house up in St. Remy. Live the quiet life. And that's what we're doing. Maybe in a more roundabout way, but I just want you to promise me that once we do this, we can just go back to being plain old Greg and Anne Hurt. And that we can say goodbye to Override and Aura. Last seen in Spectacular Scarlet Spider #1. Don't go there, Ralph. Because saying that was it's the Clone Saga and it was controversial. A lot of people weren't a fan of it. Believe me, honey, when this is over, we won't need anything else. The couples come together, yearning to know their partner. In here, gentlemen. Your tools arrived 2 days ago via special courier. Mr. Cryer saw to it that everything was taken care of. He appreciates the value of secrecy in this business. And while I too understand the need for anonymity, I can't help but ask, are you not the infamous Dealey boys from Dallas? Maybe. They venture a touch? Oh, laser sights? A hesitant caress. Something like that. Well, yeah. Yes, well, if you'll just sign the release form, then you can go about your business. The dance begins. Welcome to my life. My nutty, crazy, insane, lunatic, out-of-hand life. I love it when John Romita draws loads of Spider-Man on the same page to represent going fast. It's really cool. It was just this morning that I woke up as Peter Parker, mild-mannered freelance photographer for the New York Daily Bugle. Husband, student, nobody trying to kill me. Everything was Jake. But no sooner do I put on my red and blues and whip out my first web line. Boom, I've got anyone with a weapon and 2 brain cells to rub together, trying to work their butts up, trying to make my funeral arrangements. Well, it's time these over-enthusiastic mouth breathers realize that this suddenly not-so-friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is, in fact, alive. Love this page. Love this panel, it looks great. Into the dance. Alive and kicking. I got him! I got him! So there's a lot going on in this page. So this guy's being kicked. This guy's about to electrocute Spider-Man in the back. And lots of bullets are raining down. I tell you. Oh, that's not John Romita Jr. I thought it was John Romita Jr. It's, in fact, Joe Bennett, who is an artist I'm not too familiar with. Who's the inker, though? Al Milgrom and Dan Green. Al Milgrom, interestingly enough, was the writer before Roger Stern took over. Gonna give you enough volts to... That's the guy with the electric stick. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Huh? Ah! Spider Sense has been helping me out, guiding me through this maze of idiots. But now that I've taken most of them out, there's kids watching at the window. Gotta tell them to get inside. Get down. Behind me. And suddenly, it's one of those instances where everything seems to slide into slow motion. I can see it all. The sweat on his forehead, the quiver in his wrist, his finger trembling on the trigger, a hesitant caress. In his mind, he's already counting the bounty money. Behind me, the kids in the line of fire. If I move, they're dead. I have to keep myself between them. I have to use my speed, agility, and web fluid. Gah! No, man, don't. Amy says, Bonjour, Sensei. Hello, Amy. At the moment, Spider-Man is in big trouble. He's being hunted down by loads of people, and he's been framed for murder, and there's $5 million on his head. How are you doing, Amy? My moderator supreme. Please, man, get that stuff off me. Don't kill me. Don't want to die like that alpha guy. So if someone was killed and framed, and they framed Spider-Man, made it look like he did it with web, and using web has really scared this guy. This is really, like, it's really dramatic, this story. I love it. It's such a mess. And that's what I like about the story. It's just ridiculous. Amy says, I'm good, thank you. How are you? I'm really good, thanks. I've been doing some job hunting and some writing. And yeah, I'm feeling good. Enjoying a nice GOW and doing the stream. Had a tea earlier and had a nice nap before the stream as well. It's a good time. Other guy? The one you killed. Smothered. Paper said you filled his lungs with that web stuff. Please, man. And now they think I'm a killer. And there's nothing I can do about it. What am I going to tell this guy? That I didn't do it? That I've been framed? That the Green Goblin hired the Trapster to set me up? See Peter Parker Spider-Man 88, who did Joey Z. Oh yeah, I'm level 3 now, according to my... Here it is. So I've been doing this to keep me motivated during unemployment, and I got 100 points, 100 experience points for applying for a job, 100 for doing 4 pages of my novel, and 25 for sorting out the sound settings for my stream. I'm going to get another 25 doing the stream. Level 3, baby. I think I'm level 3. I need about 550 experience points to get to level 3. I love this system. By the way, this is a bit of a mistake here, I think, because issue 88 didn't say the Trapster did it, but they later reveal it to be the Trapster who was hired by the Green Goblin to frame Spider-Man. Trapster was a villain that was previously known as Pastepot Pete when he appeared in the Fantastic Four in the 60s or the 50s, and he's become a bit more serious of a villain than he originally was, considering he's murdered someone. Don't put these on for an hour. And don't believe everything you read. Jerks, greed makes people do crazy things. And so does Norman Osborn. Yeah, sure, that's fine. Mr. Jameson approved the headline, Mr. Osborn. Should I take it to the press? Norman Osborn is also the Green Goblin, easily Spider-Man's most deadly foe. I like how this artist draws Peter Parker as well. It's cool. Don't know what he's wearing though. And Peter Parker's, knowing my secret identity, he's taken over the paper where I work, doing everything he can to systematically destroy every aspect of my life, manipulating everyone around me, including the boss, J. Jonah Jameson. Usually Jonah wouldn't let anyone get near telling him what to do with his bugle, but somehow Osborn. Pete, dude, sorry I'm late, man. I had a bad ride in. Tell me about it. Billy Walters, freelance reporter, and my sometime partner. What the? Is that Flash? Huh? Hey, Peter. I was hoping I'd run into you. I can't really talk right now. I'm in the middle of doing some research for Mr. Osborn. But maybe we can get together later through do the lunch thing. So he's got Flash Thompson working for him. I really like Flash Thompson. At this point in the story, he's recovering from alcoholism. And Norman Osborn has made himself seem like a really good guy by giving Flash a job. But it's good to see Flash doing well. Unfortunately, him being Norman Osborn's assistant has some really horrible implications later on in one of my favourite Spider-Man stories. We'll get to that later. Yeah, Flash, sure. Dude, you know him? That's Osborn's new boy. What's his name? Flash? What's he, run fast or something? Morning, guys. Oh, hey, Betty. What's going on? What's Flash doing for Osborn? Well, apparently Mr. Osborn was so impressed with how Flash handled his drinking problem, first accepting that he had a problem and then getting help for it. Norman hired Flash as his personal assistant. He said that he admired Flash as a survivor, his ability to keep coming back no matter what's thrown at him. You know something, Peter? After everything that he's been through, I'm kind of impressed myself. Oh yeah, me too. But what's Osborn really up to? What little games does he have in mind for Flash? Or is he trying to keep messing with my head? Flash, good to see you, son. Come in. I have the reports here from Legal on the Spider-Man bounty, Mr. Osborn. Excellent, boy. Excellent. What are you playing at, you grinning gargoyle? You're toxic, Osborn. Your influence is poison, tainting everything you touch, destroying everything around you. And everyone. It's sad to see Jonah like this. He's usually so full of life. Grab your gear, Pete. Something bad's going down. Shortly. Whoa. You'd think that someone who uses the English language so eloquently in all his news articles, Billy would make better use of it verbally. And yet, I can't say his one-word summation doesn't nail this scene perfectly. The NYPD was able to evacuate... Oh, the NYFD, the fire department, was able to evacuate everybody. This lady was lost when the building collapsed on top of the ladder truck. Now this fire is spreading. The flames are climbing up the ladder and she's got no more up to go. Man, she's so screwed. There's no way anybody could get to her in time. You think? I love how he's just disappeared there. Classic Peter Parker. Help, help! Don't worry, lady. I do this sort of thing all the time. Just give me your hand now. No, stay away from me. Stay away! Don't kill me! Oh, everyone thinks Spider-Man's going to kill him. Poor Spidey. No, wait, lady. I don't. Thank you, Osborn. Miserable. Huh? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. I'm busy saving this reluctant victim, and this cat is going to start taking pot shots at me? Hey, lady, stop twisting. Don't let go. You're going to... Ah! No! Huh? Prowler? Got your back, buddy. This is the Prowler. He was originally a villain. Now he's a hero. What are you... I owe you, man. Big. Figured I'd stop by and give you a hand. So why don't you let me deal with Screamy here? And you take care of the guy with the gun. Man, that's the first good thing that's happened to me in, like, forever. And Hobie's the best. He thinks he owes me because I helped him get his costume back when he was laid up a couple of months ago. See Sensational Spider-Man 16 and 17. He stopped being the Prowler in the 80s, and another guy took over, this like cat burglar guy who got affected by an explosion. It was ridiculous. He didn't really do a very competent job of it. It was interesting. But as far as I'm concerned, he's paid up in full. And so is this guy. Add a little webbing to keep him from getting in any more trouble, and... Huh? I shouldn't be out of... This takes care of his webbing, honey. Now hit him with everything you've got. Not a problem, dear. Now that you've used your power to override his little web guns, he's a sitting duck from my projected force field. So, if I remember correctly, he can affect people's technology and she can use force fields. I don't know who you people are. If you picked the wrong day and the wrong Spider-Man, that gun won't do you any good, killer. I can override the firing mechanism in any... That's if I'm gonna use it as a gun, Einstein. Instead of a distraction. I love that. So you just threw it into the air to attack them. Ah! Landed right. Now, if only I can play it right. So tell me, babe, you ready to call it quits? Not until you try a piece of this. Thank you. Aura, no! Now while her guard is down. Wow. That was fast. Spider sense, what's... Huh? Oh, for the love... So many people are after him. All the time. This is like... This must be so stressful for Spider-Man. He's had to fight about 17 people in one go here. That's it, I'm out of here. Sorry, I just remembered that I'm late for a previous engagement. With someone that's not trying to kill me. You get him? Yep. Nailed his left foot with the sonar tag. When the time comes, we'll know right where to find him. What else can you do, Peter? You'd have to be insane to even put the costume on again anytime soon. You mean from what you're telling me, these bounty hunters are so rabid that just showing up as Spidey is putting people in danger? Maybe it is time for Spider-Man to retire. But Mary Jane, you know that I can't just quit. I was given these powers for a reason. Hey Tiger, I know you. I am your wife after all, and I know more than anything about your feeling of responsibility. I feel it too, but now that responsibility is taking a different form. And becoming Spider-Man could mean that innocent people might get hurt. MJ, if I quit, he wins. He only wins if you let him. Mary Jane, he's wormed his way into every aspect of our lives, like he was some kind of cancer. And I'm sick of it. I won't bend for Osborn anymore. I'm not gonna let him take away any more of my life, any more of us. Us? Peter, sometimes I think Spider-Man has become a bigger part of our marriage than we are. Where are you going? I'm sorry, honey. I'm not mad at you. I'm just frustrated. I've got to get out. Take a walk. I'll be back later. Great, now we're both angry and frustrated and alone. And Peter's right. He's not the only one who's sick and tired of Norman Osborn crawling around at the edges of our lives, destroying our chances of happiness. And if it's not him, then it's always somebody else. The estate of Norman Osborn, industrial magnate and manipulative cur. All I'm saying, my dear, is that I feel it would be in your best interest for you and little Norman to move in here with me, when Liz Allen Osborn is engaged in a less than amiable discussion with her intractable father-in-law. The sorts of words are really easy to trip up on here. And all I'm saying is no. You tout your bodyguards and security systems and surveillance cameras, and you say he'll be safer here. But Norman, those are exactly the same reasons why we shouldn't stay. I don't want Normie growing up in a world where he believes he needs to be protected. That's not our world. That's your world. And while we're on the subject, safer from who? Between your business dealings and your occasional bouts of yes, temper, I just don't feel this would be a healthy environment for my son. I see. Are you quite finished then? No, I'm not. Since your return, I've yielded to you on a number of issues that I otherwise would have challenged you on. As Normie's grandfather, I felt that it was only fair that I make some compromises with you. That would be the right thing to do. But you have yet to concede to any of my wishes. In any of these matters. Liz, my dear, if I might interrupt, I am a businessman, and so I never concede to anyone, ever. As for my statement, I believe that you misunderstood. It was not a request. Normie is my grandson, my flesh and blood. He will always have a home with me. What I said was, it would be in your best interest for both of you to come and live with me. If you get my meaning. Also, should you ever find the urge to take that tone with me again, I can assure you. And then the thing says, look, Dragon Man, that man's beating up She-Hulk. Go get him. So this bit, pretty scary. That was ridiculous. We look like fools out there. It was just an exercise in stupidity. One thing we missed there, he's saying Daddy. His dad is Harry Osborn, who was the Green Goblin, which hints that this person is the Green Goblin, opening the window. That was ridiculous. We looked just like fools out there. It was just an exercise in stupidity, to Marriott. Annie, honey, relax. We're just here to snag, that's all. That was just our trial run. We'll get another chance. Now that we've got Spider-Man's number, taking him down is going to be a snap next time. Oh, Greg, do you think so? I'm just afraid that we're making a mistake, that something might go wrong. I find it hilarious his name's Greg. It just reminds me of my favourite bakery. Believe me, honey, nothing's going to go wrong. Once we capture Spider-Man and all this is over, I promise you, we won't have to worry about anything anymore. It's good they're allowing us to sympathise with some side characters which otherwise would have just been villains. It's pretty cool. The apartment of Joe and Martha Robertson. But Robbie, you see what's happening down there? Ever since Osborn's come into the Bugle, it's like the man took the soul out of the place. He's got Jameson cowed. Jonah barely comes out of his office to yell at me anymore. But you're the heart of the Bugle, Robbie. The paper needs you. Jonah needs you. Your positive influence. Your level head. You've got to come back. I can't, Peter. I have to leave the paper. For the longest time I fought it. But the Bugle has become something that I no longer like. And instead of my trying to be a positive influence on it, it's threatening to swallow me whole. But that's just it. You're the last hope. The last good thing that the Bugle. If you leave, Osborn takes an even bigger bite. And Peter, I know how much you love Joe, and it's fairly obvious how you feel about the Bugle, but the truth is, I won't let him go back. I can't stand by and watch my husband be consumed by something he once loved so much. It was destroying him, Peter, and it had gotten to the point where I was starting to feel that the Daily Bugle had become a bigger part of our marriage than we were. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I think I do. A short time later, man, that's typical. It took my listening to Martha talk about Robbie for me to hear what Mary Jane was saying to me. And maybe she's right. With everything that Osborn's done to make Spidey's continued existence near impossible, maybe it's time for the webhead to call it quits. Some very obvious symbolism here hanging around Peter Parker. Sonar beacon's heading right for us. There must be him coming up out of the subway. Get ready to get around him, Harvey. We know who he is, Lee. We can figure that out after we kill him. Whoa, Spider Sense is telling me that maybe I'd better start my retirement tomorrow. Ozzy, Harv, move. These guys are called Lee, Harvey, and Osborn. Wow. Very subtle there, guys. Where is he, Lee? Checking now. Signal's getting faint. Sonar tag's gonna to wear off. Dang, he's moving fast. Where is he? This can't be right. It says that he's... Gotcha, bug. Jinkies, these guys are using some major strange ordnance here. Wherever that was, just took out the entire corner of this building. And there are higher caliber of idiots from the ones earlier too. I have to get away from the buildings. I'm in the open where I can see them. And this place looks like it will do the trick. Let's move this slightly. And what's a little webbing between friends? Flagpoles. Hopefully if I play it, my cards right, it'll work out like a big old no pest strip. Now if I can just get the pests to cooperate. He moved past the park. Positions, boys. I'm there, Lee. Harv? Shut up, Ozzy. We got company. Here they come. Oh, God, I'm dead. Somebody give me some backup. Backup? Did someone say backup? Huh? Ah! Here's your backup. Huh. Thank you. Thank you. And for my next trick, everyone freeze, police! Oh no, Rookie doesn't know that doesn't fly with these types. Gotta get him out of here before. Yikes! That cop caught the brunt of the blast, and there wasn't one of their cannons. I know that sound. It was just a warning shot, Spider-Man. Now, my force field. Yeah, take it easy, Snacky. I'll get you out of here. Ah, don't you think so, Spider-Man? You ain't gonna be nothing but a smear of grease when it's jammed. What? That would be me. I have taken the liberty of overriding the mechanics on all of your various weapons. I don't know if you guys care or not, but this cop is really hurt. Bad. Police, put up your weapons. Dang. Oh, this is just great. Could we invite any more people who want to kill me? It looks like this is going to be one big game of Dogpile on the Rabbit, and I'll be playing the part of Bugs. And this definitely doesn't look good. The cops are sure to assume that we got a man down, Spider-Man. Step away from the officer. Now, what did I tell you? It's alright, officers. The situation is under my complete control. I will return control of your weapons to you once my wife and I have safely secured the criminal, Spider-Man. Honey, I'm going to focus on an area of operability around you so you can contain Spider-Man with your force field. Go! 1. And suddenly, everything is slow motion again. 2. Override moves, not realizing who else is in a direct path of his influence. Aura projects her force field out to capture me, and the one called Lee raises his gun. I'm not fast enough. I could never make it to her in time. The sleazer fires, a blade of light closing the distance. A look of sudden horror in her eyes. Aura draws her force field back to her, retrieving it for protection. Too late. Oh man. A particle of the sleazer beam is trapped inside with her as she closes the cocoon, ricocheting about. The light tears her apart. Her screams are muffled by the force field. His are not. Annie! No! I'm still in shock, but I've got to get this guy to the hospital. Although it's not like I haven't done enough already. Power and responsibility. What am I responsible for now? Mary Jane, honey, I'm sorry, you're right. Something terrible happened tonight, and it proved to me that this is too dangerous. I can't be. MJ, Mary Jane, what's wrong? Peter, Normie. Normie Osborn's been kidnapped. Special report. Continuing our special report again, 5-year-old Normie Osborn, grandson of industrialist Norman Osborn, was kidnapped earlier this evening from his father's estate in Glen Cove by the Green Goblin, as you can see. Although inconclusive, security camera footage suggests that the child was abducted by the bizarre Green Goblin, a figure repeatedly linked to the Osborn family and considered by authorities to be a deadly sociopath. Through his grief and concern, Osborn had this to say. Of course, my daughter-in-law and I are prepared to submit to any and all of the kidnappers' demands. We want only to have our little boy back swiftly and safely, and I hope that this will dispel any further rumor that I am connected in any way to this madman. So it's obviously Norman Osborn orchestrating something here. Very twisted guy. And I wish those web shooters shot bullets. To be continued in Spiderhunt Part 2. So this is a really tense opening to the story arc. I mean, already we've had Spider-Man framed for murder, but this is too much. And look at judging from the cover of this chapter, it's not going to get easier for him. Spiderhunt Part 2. They are the hunters, brave and noble warriors, except perhaps for Glenn, who still sleeps with a nightlight. Every year, except when Bob's wife wants to visit her mother, armed with enough armament to put most Middle European armies to shame, they stalk the woods of upstate New York. Though Ralph never contributes for gas. Tonight, they hunt the most dangerous game of all. Anybody for a donut run? I'm starved. Me too, but don't forget my Boston creams. My Boston cream this time. Will you morons keep it down? There's a killer out there. It's our patriotic duty to bring him in and collect that fat reward. And hey, look, it's him! Tonight, their prey is a certain friendly neighborhood web slinger. Oh, great, more jackals after the bounty which the Daily Bugle posted on me. Bad enough when it was 1 million. They recently upped it to 5. And that's not my only problem. The cops think I murdered a street slang by the name of Joey Z, and the grandson of Norman Osborn, my greatest enemy, was allegedly kidnapped by the Green Goblin. But Osborn's the Goblin. At least I think he is. That's a lot of story in one page there. Needless to say, I'm in no mood for an extended playdate with the Big Up Brigade. Nail that costume freak. Blow him apart. What? What's he tossing at it? It's blasted webbing. He's trying to make fools out of us. Nope, you only have yourselves to blame for that. Me? I would have preferred to pass you by and continue on my way. A little boy is crying somewhere, afraid, unable to understand what's happened to him, or why. Losers like you are only delaying his rescue and prolonging his torment. You should be ashamed, but you're too dumb and greedy to care. To hell with people like you. I'm going to find that boy after a quick trip to the East River. Southeast of Manhattan in the New York Bay, Staten Island is primarily known as a safe and quiet residential community. Few realize that it's the home of Gangland's current boss of bosses. So things get even more complicated. There's someone else who'll be off Spider-Man in a moment. A man named Fortunato. This thing with Spider-Man, it is bad for business. Very bad. Amateurs are shooting at shadows instead of gambling or enjoying the other services we offer. To make matters even worse, Don Fortuno, there are cops everywhere. But I didn't ask for this audience to rehash old news. Didn't you, Rose? I was under the impression you wished to discuss the recent transgression of the Black Tarantula. I pay you a fair percentage to operate in the city, Don Fortunato, but the guy is encroaching on my territory and eating into my profits. I respectfully implore you to... Hey! Sounds like there's trouble outside. Wow. Let's just show you that guy falling through the window. Please forgive this intrusion, Don Fortunato. I have learned through means inappropriate to diverge that I was to be a topic of today's conversation. I prefer to present my case in person. I am the Black Tarantula, and I respectfully request your blessing to expand my interests into the New York area. Don't trust him. He obviously plans to kill us both. I think not. He could have already done so. You may go, Rose. The Tarantula and I have business to discuss, but sir, must I repeat myself? No, sir. I came to the apartment of Norman Osborn, hoping to uncover a clue to what's really going on with his grandson, and I'm getting an earful. You've been prancing around this town with a phalanx of bodyguards ever since Spider-Man assaulted you, but you couldn't protect my baby. I am so sorry, Liz. I love my grandson, and I will do everything in my power to assure his safe return. I can't help but feel responsible for all of this. The Goblin didn't choose little Norman at random. That maniac was obviously trying to strike at me. But I've always believed you were the Goblin. I know. He's lying. I know for a fact that he was the original Green Goblin. Harry and his son, Normie's father, eventually carried on the family tradition. But Harry's dead. Isn't he? I apologize for any inconvenience I may have caused you or your staff. I fully intend to make amends. I'm certain we can arrive at an appropriate accommodation, but we have other matters to discuss. My colleagues who know of such things tell me you enjoy certain business advantages in South America and parts of Europe. If that is so, why would you wish to enter a marketplace as competitive as New York? A man must seek out new challenges if he truly wishes to grow. I'm inclined to welcome you into these shores in exchange for a small service. You may find it quite challenging. A certain man has been disrupting my business, and I wish you to send him a message. His name is Spider-Man. Please, tell me it's a mistake, a sick joke. I wish I could, Peter, but I'm out of here. Jonah has already accepted my resignation. The Bugle needs you, Robbie. I need you. I don't know what happened between you and Jonah Jameson, but I'm sure you can work it out. Afraid not, Peter. There was a time when I would have done anything for the day for Jonah. A time when we really stood for something. That changed the day Norman Osborn managed to wrangle a controlling interest in this newspaper. I know it would be more noble for me to stay and keep fighting. It's just not practical. My first responsibility is to my family, and no job is worth the grief and stress this one's caused me and my wife. Okay, I'm not going to make it harder for you. You take care of yourself, you hear? I'm going to miss working with you, Peter. Aw, so wholesome. You be careful. You be especially careful. I don't think Norman likes you very much. With hugs, tears, and many a robust pat on the back, Joe Robertson crosses the Bugle's newsroom for perhaps the last time. Ben Urich, Betty Leeds, Glory Grant, everyone has words of gentle encouragement and sincere affection. Everyone except J. Jonah Jameson. And yeah, these are some of the best side characters you ever see. JJ included. Huh, so he's really leaving. As publisher of the paper, I suppose I should wish him well. Nah. Norman Osborn is a monster. He's murdered people I love and ruined more lives than I care to count. He's murdered quite a lot, actually. Some hero I am. I've never been able to nail that creep. No matter how many times I've managed to defeat him, he always finds a way to return, stronger and more dangerous than ever. I kind of forgot how serious this storyline was. I think it's great though. It's a refreshing change of pace for a Spider-Man story. I dropped by the Bugle hoping to learn more about his grandson's kidnapping. Osborn himself was with the boy's mother when the grab occurred, and every eyewitness pegs the Green Goblin as the perpetrator. I've got to say, it does get a lot more lighthearted when we get to the Identity Crisis story. You're in for a treat when that one appears. Since I know for a fact that Osborn was the original Goblin, I can only assume that he's found himself some patsy who... Spider sense is warning me. The danger is approaching. Gotta move faster. Must finish dressing before it arrives. Can't be seen without my mask. There, made it. I just hope I have time to web up my civvies before... Nope, he does not. He's going to lose some clothes. He must have to spend so much money on clothes. And bags, as we learnt from Spider-Man Homecoming. Yikes. Barely managed to avoid being squished. The good news is my civilian clothes will remain safely hidden beneath that debris until I can return to retrieve them. The bad news is that I don't recognize this wacko. Hey buddy, you ever think of printing up business cards? They're much easier to toss than chimneys. I love it. Perhaps, but far less dramatic. I am the Black Tarantula, and I want to assure you that I bear you no personal malice. Your destruction will merely serve as a means to a greater goal. That's hardly comforting. Although I'm glad to hear I haven't accidentally offended you. Believe it or not, some people find me very abrasive. I, however, shall only find you dead. Maybe. The jury's still out. By the way, I used to fight a South American smoothie who called himself the Tarantula. Though he came without a colourful appellation. A distant relative, perhaps? So let me explain. The Tarantula appeared in Peter Parker, The Spectacular Spider-Man issue 1, and he managed to beat Spider-Man in a fight, despite the fact all he does is kick with spiked shoes. It was a really dumb villain. Luckily, Peter Stern killed him off by mutating him into an actual tarantula and having him fall off a building. Perhaps, but a gentleman does not discuss his family with strangers. Okay, so let's discuss another family. Did Norman Osborn hire you? Are you the one who snatched his grandson? Are you deliberately trying to provoke me? The Black Tarantula is neither a petty mercenary or an abductor of helpless children. Sheesh, did I hit a nerve? Maybe you should try dealing with those unresolved issues. Well, I find a convenient rooftop to rest my weary bones. Singing something here. He floats through the air with the greatest of ease, the daring young spider somersaulting in the breeze. I've actually heard of you, Tarantula. You're supposed to be some big shot international crime lord? If your presence isn't related to the Osborn kidnapping, I can only assume you're looking to score the bounty on me. A logical, though flawed, assumption. While I'm quite aware of the substantial reward My personal honor and various practicalities make it quite unfeasible for me to even attempt to collect it. Let's see if I have this straight. You're not after me because of A, the Osborns, B, anything I've done, or C, for the mere monetary gain. Is it a trademark issue? I love it. Something about the whole tarantula spider thing? Your lawyer could have sent me a simple cease and desist. It's like one of the first jokes he's made here. You're not nearly as funny as you believe, Spider-Man, and my claim to an arachnid-like name easily predates your own by nearly 700 years. Oh, this guy old. He ripped through my webbing like it was tissue paper. But that's almost as impossible as the age he claims to be. Maybe I should have followed Robbie's lead and quit when I had the chance. Peter Parker suddenly thinks of his own wife. Ever since the Bugle posted its reward, Mary Jane has repeatedly begged him to stop being Spider-Man. The constant stress has even begun to affect her health, resulting in a recent fainting spell, as shown last issue, Remedy Conscious Ralph. I don't know which issue that was. I think it was the last issue of Amazing Spider-Man, which we haven't, is obviously one of the ones that's not collected in this issue. And even as Peter worries about her, Mary Jane Parker deals with this ever-mounting anxiety in her own unique manner. You go, girl. This is exactly what I needed, Chantal. I am so glad you convinced me to join you. Life is for living, Mary Jane. You may be married, but you ain't dead. Speaking of which, where is the old ball and chain? He had some work to do. Seems like that boy suffers from a deficiency of the party gene. What can I say? Peter takes his responsibilities very seriously. When he gets into a situation, he really stays involved. But I deliberately came here to avoid thinking about a certain monstrous madman, particularly a missing child in a city full of murderous bounty hunters. Come on, girlfriend, let's scorch this dance floor. Maybe they're dancing to this music that's playing in the background. Sounding good. And it's crashed again. Can we hear the music, everyone? I'm worried I may have it a bit too quiet. Suddenly, somewhere in Brooklyn, everybody said you were dead. Mom, Grandpa, Uncle Pete, and Mary Jane. Everybody. But I never believed them. Never. I always knew you'd come back for me. You are my daddy, aren't you? So Normie believes that this Green Goblin is, in fact, Harry Osborn. Is he? Let's carry on. I am quite pleased with your initial performance, Spider-Man. Your speed, agility, and fighting skills are all that I hoped to experience and more. The Black Tarantula is rarely graced with such a worthy challenger. You like challenges? No problem. I got ins with both the Fantastic Four and the Avengers. With the proper notice, I might even arrange a little one-on-one with the Hulk or the Silver Surfer. But I personally have neither the time nor inclination to engage in some mindless macho game. I'm trying to track down a missing child, and yikes! A child? What have you to do with a missing child? Guess you haven't heard the news. The grandson of an old sparring partner of mine was recently kidnapped. I intend to find that boy and bring him home, right after I flatten you. I applaud your dedication, Spider-Man, as well as your sense of honor. This is quite a cool supervillain here. He's got an honor system, an honor code. Considering the current bounty on your head, only a man of exceptional commitment would risk himself to save the heir of an enemy. And that makes my own task all the more difficult. While your local authorities may mistakenly believe you to be a criminal, those who lurk in the shadows see your true heroism. Ironic, isn't it? Oh, the music's low, but good volume. Excellent. Should I... yeah, I'll keep it fairly low so it's ambient. Thank you, Amy. Mod Supreme. That should be your title. It's like Sorcerer Supreme, because you're doing sorcery but on the internet. Ironic, isn't it? Your enemies know you better than your allies. I was sent to inform you that you are no longer welcomed in this city. For the sake of the missing child, I will allow you to live, but you must not misconstrue my generosity. He's getting unmasked! No! And he didn't seem to even check who he was. Rescue the child if you still can, then disappear, or I shall be forced to return, and you will not survive a second encounter. It's just like he's taken his mask as a trophy. With luck, that black tarantula, he would have killed me on any other day. I might have even stopped for takeout on his way home. Think about that as I slip in and out of consciousness for what seems to be a dozen years. I'm lying in a sea of agony. With every gasping breath, I try to take inventory of my injuries. The tally grows so high that my head starts to spin and buzz. One of the things I really like about this chapter is how Spider-Man's mask changes. It starts off to be complete. Now it's been ripped in half, and it changes more and more. It changes one more time in the issue. It's really cool. They even highlighted this in the last few pages of the graphic novel in a really cool way. The tally grows so high that my head starts to spin and buzz. I think it kind of represents his motivation to be Spider-Man, actually. It's kind of like the reverse version of the Spider Sense, where half his face is Spider-Man, and half his face is Peter Parker. No. That buzzing is my Spider Sense. It's him! Looks like he was beaten within an inch of his life. Somebody should call the cops. Doesn't seem like there's much fight left in him. He's like a lottery ticket aching to be cashed. The $5 million can easily be split between us. Plenty for everybody. I could use a new car. A DVD system. Me, I'm going to Disney World. So this was released in 1998 or 1999, and DVD players would have been really expensive back then. So that's quite an interesting sign of the times. Barely managed to react in time. My adoring fans. I hear their shouts and curses as I slam into the side of the building, and somehow find the strength to stick to it without losing consciousness. Crawling up walls used to be my specialty. No more. It takes me 4 or 5 centuries full of anguish to reach the roof, inch by dizzying inch. And that's where the buzzing suddenly returns, with hardly a moment to spare. Is it another civilian playing the weekend mercenary? So, I don't know how many bad guys. We've had 24 people so far in this book hunt Spider-Man, and we're about to have another amateur looking for an easy score? Nope, no such luck. Game's over, webhead. You're facing a real professional now. I'm called Shotgun, and you can either surrender or die. I think, yeah, to be continued in Peter Parker, 89. This must have sold so many comics, considering it was going on 3 different Spider-Man stories monthly. If I were reading Amazing Spider-Man and not the other ones at this point, I'd be like, I've got to read the others, man. Peter Parker Spider-Man, Spiderhunt, Part 3, and this is from Peter Parker Spider-Man 89. And it's again illustrated by John Romita Jr. and inked by Scott Hannon. My favorite artist pair for Spider-Man. The city needs your help. I need your help. My grandson, he has been kidnapped by a madman. All evidence points to the Green Goblin, but he's in cahoots with Spider-Man. Spider-Man has gone mad. His attacks on me, on my family, the killing of a lowly criminal in such a horrible fashion. I fear for my grandson's life. The entire city is hunting for Spider-Man. That is my doing. In an effort to bring a swift ending to Spider-Man's madness, I placed a $5 million reward on his head. That may have been a mistake. Now the streets are filled with weekend warriors. Overly armed street punks and police officers too busy to keep them all from killing each other to deal with real crimes. Classic Norman Osborn chaos. This is why I've turned to you. It is why I chose to liberate you from your captors. You, sir, are a true American hero. The persecution you have suffered for your continuing attempts to serve this great nation of ours is inconscionable. I give you your freedom, with no strings attached. I only ask that you do that which is right, that which you have always done, and I offer you any assistance I may give in the attainment of your goals. Simple question. Since you claim to know so much about me, Mr. Osborn, who am I? I've got amnesia, wow! Ah yes, I had forgotten that you are not completely in possession of your memories. I will help you as best as I can. You know that your name is Frank Castle, but what you may not recall is that some call you the Punisher. You point me in the direction of this Spider-Man. If he knows anything about your missing grandson, I'll find out or die trying. So he's the Punisher, and he doesn't even remember he's the Punisher. Uh-oh. That's a recipe for disaster. I'm not a fan of the Punisher. He's a really interesting character. Unfortunately, I forgot he had amnesia, which isn't the greatest plot device, which allows him to do even worse stuff than he would have done before. Meanwhile, things are going to be about as well as they can be expected for Spider-Man. I just want you to be sure I wasn't kidding when I said surrender or die. Don't want to even think about fighting me. Trust me, Shotgun, right? Fighting you is the last thing I've got in my mind. I've just been thrown a serious enough beating by a bad guy calling himself the Black Tarantula, and come to think of it, if you hurry, you might be able to catch up and play with him. What'd you say? I figured as much. So this is the next change of his mask. He's taken the mask off and made his own webbing mask, which looks very similar to Daredevil's first costume before he became Daredevil, and I think that's quite cool. Well, I've got an identity to conceal, and more importantly, a young boy to rescue. I can't catch a break. It seems like me against the entire world. If I'm not getting shot at by every Tom, Dick, and Dirty Harry wannabe from below, I've got the latest costume vigilante hammering away at me from above. Fortunately, I've always got a standing death threat from this Black Tarantula guy to fall back on. He actually told me to get out of town. The way things are going, Mary Jane and I might just pack up and do it. But not after I've rescued Osborn's grandson, Little Normie, and found out who is wearing the Green Goblin costume. The shotgun is persistent, and the way I'm feeling, I don't know how much longer I can dodge his shots. So it looks like we've got no choice but to get back, Virginia. It's Spider-Man. John! Own or rent? The apartment we rent, but good. You tell the landlord that no-account scoundrel Spider-Man recklessly vandalized the place. His insurance should cover the damages. And it's not like it's going to hurt my rep. You folks have a nice day. So I think he can't actually see what's going on at the moment. Hello? Todd, is that you? Ah! Sorry, I had my eyes closed, really. A little battered, a little bruised, and very embarrassed, but I am free? Oh, heck. It's not a good day for Spider-Man. And he's been shot by the Punisher, who had amnesia at the time, perhaps. At the local NYU Medical Center. I'm not sure. So this is Jill Stacy, who's a relative of Gwen Stacy. I'm not sure why she's in hospital, but she is for some reason. I haven't read the issues before this, because I didn't read the Clone Saga. You make one hard gunshot victim, girlfriend. Thanks, Chantal. I do try. The search for Norman Osborn's second is still underway. Police refuse to comment on the possible link between the Green Goblin and Spider-Man in regards to this latest in a series of attacks on the Osborn family. Bought you a poster to brighten up the room and some reading material, but you better wait till your dad leaves to check them out. They're a bit hot. This dad learned long ago to butt out of my little girl's business. Though I was wondering if you could spare a few moments later to go over the events at your house which led to Jill's being wounded. Sure thing, Mr. Stacy. I think she was probably wounded by the Green Goblin. He has a habit of wounding people. Meanwhile, the city still has spider fever, with all those eyes waiting to see if, given his grandson's kidnapping, Norman Osborn increases the available reward money. Paul, you want to turn that thing down? We're trying to visit with your sis. In a minute. Was Spider-Man responsible for the kidnapping of a young child? That is the question the entire city is waiting to have answered. She said, turn it off now. I do envy and pity that husband of yours. You seem to have a temper to match that fiery head of hair, Mrs. Parker. Though I guess this Spider-Man business has us all on edge. Norman Osborn, piss off, man. Ah, jerk. Goodbye, my boy. Mr. Osborn. How is young Peter doing? I was at the Bugle all day, and I caught nary a glance of that. Goodbye, Mary Jane. Send my love to that lovely Aunt Anna. What do you want, Norman? Always to the point, Arthur. I know there is a history between us, but I need your help. My grandson, my Normie. If there's anything you can do to find him, Arthur, I will be eternally in your debt. At the moment, At that moment, on the banks of the East River, a lone hunter, a down on his luck former bookie named Clarence Fielding, seeks the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And tonight he finds it. The equivalent of $5 million washed up on shore. His for the taking if he can hold his hand steady and not blow off his own foot. Don't move, I said. Oh man, he's not breathing. Don't go dying on me. Come on, fight it. Breathe. Thanks. You gonna use that thing? If not, put it away. Looking to collect the money, huh? Yeah, thought finding you was gonna be the answer to all my problems. I was just having some money trouble. I lost my job. My wife left me. The rent is way overdue. I thought maybe it would be like winning the lottery. Yeah, I'm not big into the long odds. But I've never been lucky with them either. Been playing the same number for the past 3 years and all I am is poorer. I'm through. I tend to be a good judge of people, and this is not what you're about. Quit now, while you still have the choice. The choice I don't have. But the money isn't really that important to you. If it was, all you'd had to do was nothing. I would have died without your help. But you're better than that. Go. So deep down, Clarence is a good guy. No one's going nowhere. This is extreme. Don't worry. I'm not gonna let them hurt you. Clarence, don't. Freeze. I love how he's facing all these guys on his own. This is a badass. Yeah, I'm stone cold, but not as cold as you're gonna be, little man. Oh yeah, well, I'm taking you out first. I love this guy. Clarence, you're in over your head. Get out of here. No, I think it's working. They're looking less sure of themselves. We don't need this kind of trouble here, buddy. We all want the same thing. I'm not your buddy. I think he was talking to me. Drop the shotguns now. Shotgun? I think he was talking to me. How you doing, Castle? I heard you were dead or something. Oh man. So the Punisher said, oh man, this was supposed to be a cakewalk. Before taking Spider-Man down was going to be a cakewalk? No, but these two guys, they're bad. So we'll have to kill them real good. The thing I don't like about Punisher, so he's obviously got his memories back and he's the Punisher again. I just don't like the fact he uses a gun and he kills people. I think that is not... I mean, admittedly, he was... I mean, he went mad after being in the war. But, you know, I don't like that at all. He's supposed to be... I get the feeling we're supposed to dislike Punisher, but there are a few people that love the Punisher, and I mean, he is, admittedly, some of the stuff he does is pretty cool. I just don't like him at all. I guess I'm not supposed to. He was originally a villain in Spider-Man, but, you know, I'm not a fan of him. I'm not a fan of his work. There's only 2 of them. If we're lucky, they'll kill each other. Clarence, getting close. Things are about to get real ugly, real fast. But now! Just staying close and you'll be safe behind this web shield. Is this the stuff that you used to kill that Joey Z guy? I did not kill anyone. Now shut up and stay down. I love how he's doing a Captain America. He's made a web shield. And it seems to be quite effective. I'm gonna see what I can do to save a few of those boneheads who are trying to kill me. What are you, a moron? These guys will kill you in your sleep for a good parking space. You're going easy on them? Putting a couple of empty packing crates on them isn't exactly going easy. You know what I mean. What are you doing here, Jimmy Six? So this is a character I didn't know at all. Jimmy Six was someone that was a friend of Spider-Man's clone, Ben Reilly, before he died. And I don't know how they were friends or what that was, because I have not read much of the Clone Saga. I read the Spider Carnage arc because I found it in the comic shop for about 50p an issue, but that's the only arc I've read from the Clone Saga. If I was, you'd already be dead. I owe you my life. I hate owing anybody anything. Been tracking your sorry tale all over town. But maybe this would be an easy way to settle all scores. Good. Now find a way to get Clarence here to safety. Then all debts are settled. Deal. What are you going to do? I'm going to see if I can save a few lives here. Moron. Okay, the minor players are all going to be held off by the doors being webbed shut. From the way my danger sense is tingling. That only leaves danger sense. That reminds me of the really old comics when they didn't know what to call the spider sense. The two most major, albeit most dangerous players. It seemed like a good plan just a second ago. This is freaky, Castle. Seeing you slamming down on webs like this. Last I remember, you were both members of the Good Guy Corps. Of course, so am I, working for the feds and all. But I'm also a freelancer, and I couldn't pass up the chance of this job, especially not with a 5 mil reward. I remember. I was hired to kill Spider-Man once by a criminal. We've had our differences, but we've also fought side by side. He's not a killer. Osborn used me. Just like Jackal did. But no more. No more. Back off, Shotgun. I'm not letting you kill him. Finally. You know, I knew you'd shut up. You're acting like I should be afraid of you, Castle. Who are you forgetting? You're forgetting who you're dealing with. Guys, shut up! Oh man, stop telling Spider-Man shut up, guys. Be nice to him. Just trying to tell you, we've got company. Oh, Green Goblin bombs. The Goblin pumpkin bombs. Got to get out. Now. And he's doing his laugh. Hee! Gotcha! Concluded in Spectacular Spider-Man 255. This is the last issue in the Spiderhunt story. There's still chapters left in the book. They're going to start the prologue for the Identity Crisis after this. But let's go through this part. Interesting cover, by the way. That would have blown so many minds if they hadn't read this, because they're like, Norman Osborn being taken by the Green Goblin? He's been duped, framed, chased, shot at, beaten and blown up. His mask is gone, his costume in tatters. There's half a ton of flaming wreckage pressing against him. Now Peter Parker isn't a man known for his good luck, but this very well may be, the worst day of his life. And he knows it's only gonna get worse, if he lives. His wife, Mary Jane, isn't the kind of woman to indulge in I told you so's. But this is one time she'd be totally justified if she did. She's urged him again and again not to go out in public as Spider-Man, with a $5 million price on his head and hundreds of self-proclaimed bounty hunters seeking the reward. Stepping out the door was tantamount to suicide. Add heavy hitters like the Punisher and Shotgun to the mix, and it's a wonder Parker has made it this far. But there's a reason Spider-Man survived this ordeal, and all the many that have preceded it. He is a hero driven not by a sense of glory, but by a sense of responsibility. And now it's responsibility that drives him. The grandson of Norman Osborn, the original Green Goblin, has been kidnapped by someone who appears to be yet another Goblin. Parker's known the boy, the son of his late friend Harry Osborn, since the day little Norman was born, and he refuses to see the Osborn legacy, the Osborn curse, due to that innocent soul what it did to Harry. He's going to find Normie, and he's going to save him, even if he has to walk through the fires of hell to do it. So, of course, it's written by John Mark Diamandis. That narration is definitely classic J.M. Diamandis. And the art is done by Luke Ross, I really like his art. It looks really cartoony and kind of anime-like, the way he draws the faces, which is definitely a 90s thing, but I think it's cool. I've seen a lot of his art in Peter Parker Spider-Man, I think, and Spectacular Spider-Man in the past. I'll say this for you, Webbs. You're a fighter. Anyone would have just laid there and died. Look, how many times do I have to tell you? I didn't kill Joey Z. I was set up. I believe you. Osborn used me when I had amnesia, set me up to kill you. But I'm not letting you leave until I find out what's really going on down here. Now that my memory's back, I want to be filled in, and you're the guy to do it, Webbs. I see how much of a prick Punisher is. Even though he knows what's going on, he still points a gun at his head. At Spider-Man's head. Face it, Castle. You're a cold-blooded psycho killer. I'm sick to death of you and your methods. Even if you're not out to do me in this time. Yeah, me too, man. Don't even try. You think this will stop me? Well, actually, I do. Now, why don't you get a good therapist and save us all a lot of grief? There's got to be a better way to get told. Mate, if the Punisher just saw a therapist, it would be so much better, you know. Although I've argued that maybe Spider-Man should see a therapist, because it would make his life a lot easier, I think. Hey, your leg caught some debris when the building blew. What's it to you? A guy like me would probably just let you bleed to death. Get smart. Not all of us who wear the Union suit are just out for revenge. We're out here to help more than hurt. Think about it next time you're cleaning your gun. Now come on, Mr. Blood and Guts. See, he's sewing his wound up. I doubt the Punisher would have done that for him. Let's get out of here before the rest of this place comes crashing down. I mean, Punisher does kind of have a bit of a redemption in the Civil War arc when he rescues Spider-Man. But, you know, I don't like the Punisher. I don't think we're supposed to, but I really can't stand him. Outside the warehouse, police and firefighters race to the scene, all of them holding little hope that anyone could have survived such a devastating explosion. So it's all the more surprising. One thing I do like is how the Spider-Man cartoon of the 90s replaced all of the Punisher's guns with laser weaponry. I think that's a good way of doing it. Like, it kind of takes the seriousness away from the fact he's just some guy with guns. I really don't like that. When a determined Spider-Man emerges, carrying Castle and a handful of others trapped by the blast, men who, moments before, had been hungry for the wall-crawler's blood. The police, on the other hand, don't want Spider-Man dead. Just behind bars. You're under arrest, freak. Now you are going to come quietly, or fact is, officer, I'm not going to come at all. Now isn't that nice? They're so grateful that I saved all those people from a flaming death that they're giving me a 21-gun salute. This is seriously getting depressing. I mean, isn't there anyone, aside from Castle, who even entertains the idea that I didn't do it? Look at him casually getting away. Perhaps not, but this man who spent the best part of his adult life hunting killers, analysing the warped corners of the criminal mind, has already set his sights on future prey. Norman Osborn lied to me, and because he did, that smiling Jack was going to find himself in deeper sewage than Spider-Man. The web spinner, meanwhile, is trying to put some needed distance between himself and the law. He wants time, just a few minutes to rest, to clear his thoughts and plan his next moves. But, as his suddenly shrieking spider sense makes painfully clear, he's not going to get it. The Goblin! He could engage the kidnapper now, but weak and exhausted as he is, that would be idiotic. Better head to safe ground, leaving a spider tracer behind to more discreetly lead him to the Goblin's lair. I love spider tracers. Now what? Bang, bang, Bug, you're dead. And I'm $5 million richer. Oh man, you just know this never happens to Captain America. Poor Spidey. Across the city, in the penthouse apartment of Norman Osborn, 6 men, soldiers of fortune who make their living trafficking in blood and death, gather around a man who knows the stink of the grave better than most. You are all widely known for your skills at stealth and violence, but I think that despite your reputations, you are still men. You still have hearts. There is a child's life at stake here, gentlemen. An innocent boy whose only crime is that he's related to me. I want my grandson back. I just want the man who took him brought to justice. And the one who does that will be handsomely paid. And while you're out there, I want you to remember that Spider-Man is still at large, and that the Daily Bugle has offered a $5 million reward for his... Hey, if you're so worried about the kid, then why are you even thinking about Spider-Man? The question, a logical one. For the hypnotic gaze that meets the questioner's eyes is filled with rage and loathing and contempt. That it takes all of the man's willpower just to turn away. He will remember that gaze for the rest of his life. Looking into the devil's eyes, he'll say later, couldn't be worse than looking into his. And while Norman Osborn concludes the briefing, his daughter-in-law Liz anguishes over her child's fate. Look, Lizzie, I know there can't be anything worse than having your son taken away from you, but Mr. Osborn, he'll get Normie back, I know he will. thought you were president of the Spider-Man fan clubs, Flash. When did you switch over to Norman's? Look, your father-in-law gave me a chance when nobody else would. He knows about my drinking problem, but he still hired me on as his assistant. You ask me, the guy's as big a hero as the Wallcrawler. They're two of a kind, men who put themselves on the line to help other people. Flash is such a great guy. It's just such a shame that he's being used by Norman Osborn. It's upsetting. They've both gotten a bad rap because of it. Have you forgotten, Eugene, that Spider-Man tried to kill me recently? Hardly the actions of a misunderstood hero. I'm telling you, Mr. Osborn, that wasn't Spider-Man. It couldn't have been. It must have been the chameleon or the goblin in disguise. Perhaps, Eugene, perhaps. Whatever the case, my boy, we'll have to go now. I have meetings with the mayor and his police commissioner. Liz, I know you doubt me, but I swear to you I love Norman. I'd never do anything to hurt him, and I'd sacrifice my own love and my own life 1,000 times to get him back. Somewhere in the city, there is a junkyard, a place built of equal parts scrap metal and discarded dreams, and it's here that little boy sits and waits, and plays. Then bam! The Green Goblin knocks the mean Spider-Man right out of the window. Little Norman hasn't had an easy life. He's been well cared for materially. He has been well foreseen to that, but his young eyes have seen more suffering, more madness than many souls witness in a lifetime. Watching as your father's mind disintegrates, as your mother's heart breaks, and your family, your world goes to pieces around you, leave scars that even decades can't erase. J.M. Diamantis really knows how to write his depressing prose. And for Normie, the pain is still fresh and utterly incomprehensible. He knows his father was a good man, so why did he act so bad? He knows his father loved him, so why did he go away? I do love the empathy he writes with, though. He's a really great writer. I really enjoyed Craven's Last Hunt, written by him. It was great, although it was a quite depressing, sad story. Ever since Harry Osborn's death, Normie has dreamed again and again that his father would come back for him, carry him off to a place that's theirs alone. Hey, what's that noise? Where together they can be happy. And now, it seems, at least to his impressionable young mind, that the impossible dream has come true. Daddy? Love. It's the thing we all search for and live for, young and old alike. To find love and lose it is perhaps the greatest heartbreak a human being can suffer. Just ask Greg Hurd, who stands helplessly in a lower Manhattan hospital room watching his wife Anne struggle for life. She is his heart, his soul. She is his universe, and now she's dying because of him. It was Greg who convinced Anne to don the cybernetic costumes he designed to join the hunt for Spider-Man as the superpowered mercenaries override an aura. He thought the reward money would put them on easy street. Now he finds himself facing inestimable hospital bills. Amy says, "Oh man, yeah, it's really, really depressing, man. Like, I do like though that these side characters have quite, like, you feel sorry for them and they're quite likable, even though they are trying to kill Spider-Man. You don't hate them. I can't hate these guys. Now the reward money takes him far more urgency. Now he isn't just playing. He's playing for keeps." At that moment, in the Forest Hills section of Queens, two women are glued, like millions of other New Yorkers, to their television sets, horrified and fascinated by the fate of one small boy. I love the pacing in this story as well. It's so lightning paced. But Mary Jane Parker isn't just some interested observer. She knows Normie Osborn, knows her mother Liz, and to her eternal regret, the boy's grandfather Norman. And even as she and her aunt Anna watch the seemingly endless newscasts, even as they hear about the $100,000 reward Osborn has offered for the boy's safe return, she can't help but wonder what part Norman has played in the abduction. Amy says, "Do I have a cup of tea, Rob, or a GOW, or both?" You have both. You have a cup of tea and a GOW. I wish I had a GOW, but I don't know. I don't want to go up downstairs midstream and get some more water, but my throat is killing me. I don't care though. I'm going to get to the end of this chapter. At least, and then I'm going to stop the stream maybe in about 5-10 minutes so I can get a drink. I'm trying these days to not leave the stream at all, even if I need toilet. I went 2 hours needing the toilet and I managed last time. Very proud of that. He appears to love the boy, but Norman is the master of deceitful appearances. He's the man who would use anyone, even an innocent child who bears his name, to get what he wants. But that begs the question, what could Norman possibly gain from this? Mary Jane, do you think it's possible that Spider-Man is somehow behind it? What? Well, he did attack Mr. Osborn a few weeks ago. What if taking that boy is another way to get to him? Oh, Aunt Anna, don't be ridiculous. Like, people are so dumb in their hatred of Spider-Man in the Spider-Man universe. That's my only critique. It's like, oh, maybe Spider-Man did it. Like, come on, guys. He's been helping you for like 40 years in the comic, and not in the comics, in the comic timeline, about 15 years maybe. Lewis? My God, there's someone upstairs. Don't panic, it was probably just the wind. No, Mary Jane, don't go up alone, please. Probably just the wind. Oh, do you have a GOW and a cup of tea, Amy? Yes. Don't panic. It was probably get a GOW. Don't hurt your throat. No, I'll gladly hurt my throat for the sake of the stream. And yeah, I just don't like it when I put a video on YouTube and I go for like 10 minutes. I don't want to do that. I've got one sip of water left. Rest assured, I'm going to get a Ribena straight after this stream. Probably just the wind. MJ doesn't believe for a second. Now, after years of the parker's privacy being invaded by the likes of Venom, the Vulture, the Comedian, the Green Goblin, and so many others, she's afraid as she pushes open the attic door. But she's learned not to be controlled by her fear anymore. She's learned to look it in the eye, face it down. Oh no. But one thing she'll never be able to adequately deal with is this. Peter. The sight of her husband, bloody, bruised, and beaten, staggering across the room on his trembling legs. Tough day at the office. Unreal tough day. I love that he still has a sense of humour. Classic Spider-Man. All she wants to do is rush to his side, hold him, heal him, but Mary Jane? Circumstances won't allow that just yet. It's alright, Anna. Just Peter up in the attic developing some pictures. I didn't even know he was home. Amy says making it right now. Is it a matcha? Because that is the greatest cup of tea of all. Oh, I know how Peter is when he's working quiet as a mouse. Now, why don't we go back downstairs? I'll make us all some lunch. And she thinks, as soon as Anna calms down, I'll be back to take care of you, Peter. And this time, I'm not letting you out of my sight. Clarence Fielding isn't accustomed to excitement. His life has always been mundane, quiet. He liked it that way. But all that changed when Clarence, urged on by debt and unemployment, decided to go after the reward money on Spider-Man. Look, there's gotta be something we can do for him. I like this guy. And discovered not only that he didn't have the stomach for bounty hunting, but that he liked the Wallcrawler, identified with him, and now wants to do everything in his power to help him. The man in the caddy disagrees. You're out of your league here, Fielding. And if you think Jimmy Six is going to team up with you to save Spider-Man's butts, you're nuts. Whatever debt I owed you, I owed that guy has been paid off. Now go on, get out of here. You're standing there talking to someone who's got half the wise guys in the city after you. Unless you want to end up splattered across half of Brooklyn, I suggest you forget about me and Spider-Man both. Capiche? He knows he should forget about it, but he knows he should crawl back into the hole of his small and uneventful life, where it's dull and ordinary and extremely safe. He knows he should, but the question is, will he? Meanwhile, in Manhattan, I still can't believe he quit. In the offices of the Daily Bugle, two men with very different perspectives ponder the fate of a bird. Look at his Dilbert tie. Amy said, having a standard breakfast tea. Had 2 matcha and 2 mint already today. That's like the whole set. You've had 2 complete sets of tea. You can't be a classic breakfast tea. I don't really drink it myself, but I like making tea. If my dad wants some tea, I'm always like, Graham, you want a cup of tea? I make him the perfect cup of tea. I don't know what you're so upset about, Eric. So Joe Robertson quit. So what? More room for guys like us to move up the ladder, if you know what I mean. Conover, you jerk. Men like Joe are 1 in a million. Jameson may have been the brains around the Bugle, but Robertson was the soul. But of course you would never understand that since you don't have a soul. Why are you wasting your time assorting my character when you're supposed to be exonerating Osborn's? Didn't he order you to investigate his new Green Goblin and clear the Osborn name in the process? You ignore him on this one, Benjamin, and I don't think he's going to let you slide the way he did with the book you wrote about him, which, by the way, proves that Osborn's a saint. Anyone else would have fired you for publishing a slanderous piece of junk like that. Thanks for your opinion, Jake, which, as ever, proved to be about as valuable as a used roll of toilet paper. Oh, aren't we testy today? Well, if you get any info on the new goblin, old buddy, you'd be sure to share it with your main man Jake. Okay? I'm really interested in this one. So I'm gonna stop up this. There's about 10 more pages to go. And that'll be it for today. I think it's gonna finish the chapter, I can't remember. And why, I wonder, is that? Why are you two just standing around blabbering like a couple of little old ladies? Osborne just called from the mayor's office. He's on his way over here, and he's gonna want everything you've got on his grandson's kidnapping. Don't worry, boss. At least one of us is on it. In the past, the Stacy family has known its share of tragedy, and tragedy continues to dog them to this day. Most recently with the attack on Arthur Stacy's daughter Jill, who is currently recuperating in the Queen's Hospital, a recuperation that is anything but restful thanks to the bile spewing from Jill's brother Paul. It wasn't a trick question, Dad. Are you or are you not working for that monster, Norman Osborn? Because if you are, any respect that I have for you will have gone right out of the window. There are some things, Paul, that I simply cannot discuss with you. In other words, the answer is yes. He didn't say that. He said in a much kinder way that it's none of your business. For heaven's sake, Paul, if you don't know by now that Dad's a man of integrity, what family have you been living in all these years? Family that was shattered to pieces when the Green Goblin, who by all accounts is Norman Osborn, killed my cousin Gwen. By some accounts, Paul. In fact, the reason that Osborn approached me in the first place is because he wants the true Green Goblin exposed. So the devil whispers in your ears, and you believe his lies. He drives a stake through all our hearts, and you lick his boots. You know, son, I've often admired your willfulness, and it's carried you through some hard times, but sometimes you astonish me with your inability to see any viewpoint other than your own. Do you ever think that I'm not being willful? That maybe I'm trying to save you from falling into the hands of a master manipulator? Osborn's got the power to make any man do whatever he wants him to do. Did it ever occur to you that I'm trying to protect you? Slam. No, they both realised. It never did. What do you mean you just came home for a quick shower and a spare costume? You honestly can't be thinking about going out there again. I have to, honey. I've got to find Normie. Peter, for heaven's sake, look at yourself. Wow, it's been beaten up to heck. I'm as worried about Normie as you are, but what good is it going to do if you get yourself killed? Sweetie, if I don't do this, if anything happens to the kid, I'll never forgive myself. Alright, I know I haven't got a chance against the famous Parker Guild. I'll get your other suit, but I'm telling you, Peter, once you find that boy, Spider-Man is being retired. As long as that bounty's on your head, the costume is cursed. I'd rather you went out chasing crooks dressed in a tutu. I'd rather you changed your name to the Amazing Garbage Man and put a trash can on your head. And he's collapsed. Sleep, sweetie, for a little while at least. The police commissioner talked a good game, but frankly, I don't have much confidence in law enforcement. I wonder why. I find your sarcasm most insensitive, Jonah. Do you think I'd been making smug comments if your son's life was at stake? Look, Norman, out there I'll play the loyal friend and serve what I told you, but behind closed doors, let's at least be honest. I think your pawns gone, Osborn. And I bet my mother's pension that you're behind this so-called kidnapping. I applaud your honesty, Jonah, however misguided it is, but whatever my sins, real or perceived, I swear to you that I've had nothing to do with Norman's abduction. Whoever this particular manifestation of the Green Goblin is, he's no pawn of mine. Now, at least for the duration of this crisis, can't we just get along? Get along, who do you think you're? And the Green Goblin crashes through the window in classic Green Goblin style. Kidding? Excuse me for arriving without an appointment, Osborn. But when I heard that you'd offered a $100,000 reward for the return of your grandson, I had to rush right over to tell you that I think you're a bigger cheapskate than Jameson here. I'd say the life of your one surviving heir should be worth at least $10 million. What are you looking at? Get lost, this is a private conversation. And I don't want any interruptions. Am I making him sound too much like the Joker? Well, he is basically the Joker. Now, what was I saying? Oh, yes, 10 million. He's like the Joker mixed with Batman, I think, the Green Goblin. 10 million, Norman, delivered to me tonight at midnight in the center of Brooklyn Bridge. Seems an appropriate place for your humiliation, don't you think? And none of those tricks you're famous for. Or I swear to you, I'll break your precious boy's neck and hang his lifeless... Wow, that's terrifying. Scarier than what the Joker would say. And hang his lifeless body from the building. Norman? I'm alright. I hate to say this, Ben, but it's looking more and more like we're wrong about Osborn all along. He can't be the Goblin, that proves it. Anyone can wear a costume, Betty, and anyone can open and anyone can mouth empty threats. My god, that maniac almost killed him, or so it seemed. I don't know, Ben. Look at the panic in his eyes. The man's scared to death. Jonah, we've got to call the banks. I need that money. I need it now. I'll do anything. Mortgage everything I own, even my stake in the Bugle. I've got to have my grandson back before this lunatic hurts him. Sure, Norman. Whatever you say. Man. Obviously a trap. Flash. Were you here? Did you see it? I know, I just stepped out for half a minute when... I know there are people who say this is some kind of charade, but I saw the fear in Osborn's eyes and the desperation. No one's going to tell me that he doesn't love his grandson, and he's not worried sick. And no one's ever going to convince me that Norman Osborn is the Green Goblin. Not after this. See, this is a weird characterization for Betty, because she's actually one of the smartest characters, and she's a journalist in her own right at the moment in the story. I don't really like this characterization, because it's like she completely believes Norman Osborn, and I don't think she would. Betty Brant's a cool character. Always known he was innocent, and now finally the world does too. And Flash is being duped too. As word of the midnight rendezvous at the Brooklyn Bridge ripples in whispers across the city, Norman Osborn's hired mercenaries prepare to use this opportunity to take down the Goblin and claim the $100,000 reward. And where the Goblin is, can Spider-Man be far behind? Greg Hurd is banking on it. With a little luck, he muses, I'll take down the Goblin and the Wallcrawler. And the price of failure is too terrible to imagine. Jimmy Six is thinking about the Goblin too. He made a vow not long ago to avenge the death of his friend, Ben Reilly, to see that the Goblin's paid for Ben's murder. And despite the mob contract on his head, it's a vow he intends to keep. Frank Castle doesn't care about vows or rewards. All he cares about is his own warped sense of justice. The scales of crime and punishment must be balanced. At the moment, Spider-Man falls into a grey area between the two, and Punisher hates grey areas, despite him falling into the grey area of being a criminal and a hero. So he straps his rifle across his back and heads for the Brooklyn Bridge. Shotgun is heading there too, a government agent and freelance mercenary working for Osborn. He laughs at the idea of justice. What he cares about is the thrill of the chase, the delight of the kill, and the idea of $5 million in his bank account. It's a mess! I think this is what I like about this story. It's such a mess. Clarence Fielding could certainly use the money. His bank balance is just above zero, and his job prospects aren't much better. The reward on Spider-Man's head is the furthest thing from Clarence's mind. All he wants to do is help the Wallcrawler, but in a world of high-tech weapons, armoured costumes, and superpowers, what can one all-too-ordinary man do? Peter Parker sees himself as an ordinary man, flawed and fragile as any other. It's extraordinary circumstances, Peter would argue, that turn an average Joe into a hero, and all men have the potential to rise to the occasion. Mary Jane knows that beneath the mask and the bravado is a gentle soul, not very different from the shy, bookish teenager who first became Spider-Man all those years ago. If anything happens to Peter, she would die too, because he is everything to her, as she is to him. There's nothing she wouldn't do to protect him, to protect their family, their love. And she waits, and she wants, with all her heart, to let him sleep, safe and warm out of harm's way. But she can't. She knows that these extraordinary circumstances demand Peter's attention, and that, as much as it breaks her heart, little Norman needs Spider-Man. Midnight. Amy said, sorry my phone cut out. No problem, it's a really long narration there, and I thought this chapter would end a lot quicker than it has. But it's okay, it will see. As much as she needs Peter Parker. Several years ago, Peter's then girlfriend Gwen Stacy fell to death from this bridge, pushed from the tower by Norman Osborn's hand. The irony doesn't escape him. We got the bridge blocked off on both sides, Mr. Osborn. Is that the ransom there in the bag? As much of it as I could raise. I'm afraid I'm going to have to do some negotiating with my green friend, if I ever hope to see Normie again. I know, I've heard a lot of rotten things about the guy, but it takes a brave man to face the Goblin alone this way. But he is the Goblin! Ah! You ask me, the guy's a hero. Alright, I know you're here somewhere, hovering in the shadows, watching, waiting. I've got your blood money, you maniac, so show yourself, and give me back my grandson! Your grandson? You know, Norman, I've been thinking, from all I've read about you, I don't think you're fit to raise such a sweet, sensitive child. Remember what happened to poor old Harry? Popped his cork and ended up as worm food? And by all accounts, it was your fault. So I think I'll keep the money and the boy, and kill you in the process. Something's wrong, it looks like the Goblin's going after Osborn. Radio the other side, tell him to move in now. Come along, Norman. I think I'll play with you a little while before I finish you off. Game? for a little torture, Mr. O? Heaven knows you certainly enjoyed dishing it out. And as for you, my impotent men in blue, eat pumpkin. He's throwing the bombs at them. Oh, wow. He's been hiding under the bridge long enough. Timmy decides to grab the goblin by the tail. Spider-Man still thinks that Norman is behind this somehow, but part of him hopes that he's not. That he's really as terrified as he appears. If any man alive deserves to suffer, he thinks, to be utterly broken, it's Osborn. But if it's to the cost of little Normie's life, then it's way too high. Which means it's time to do what he always does, the right thing. Staged, kidnapping or real, he determines, I'm going to save Osborn's butt, kick the goblins, and then find Normie and get him home where he belongs. Look at Spider-Man. Figures, he's probably in with the goblin. You know, for a while there I was ready to give him the benefit of the doubt. But I guess the bum really has gone bad. Thanks for your support, officer. You don't know how much it means to me, jerk. Ah, he fumes. I can't blame him. With all the lies and innuendos going on about Spider-Man, it's a wonder I don't hate me. That's it, Bug. You keep your eyes on the goblin while I keep my eye on you. Shotgun. We need a little chat. I'm in no position to argue. And while Frank Castle speaks his mind, Clarence Fielding finds himself watching a news report concerning the melee at the bridge. It seems that Spider-Man and the Green Goblin are heading into Brooklyn. Destiny is coming Clarence's way. And this is one time he's not going to let it pass him. Override feels the same way. It won't take much, he convinces himself. If I move quickly enough, I can take them both out. But even as the cybernetic circuits hum to life, even as he concentrates overriding the central system of the Goblin's glider, he doubts himself. What happened to Annie? What he did to Annie was shattered his self-confidence. But watching the goblin fall, he realizes that it's because of Annie that he has to succeed. He sees the wall crawler somersault through the window and allows himself a cold smile. You're finished, he thinks, both of you. I'm going to take you apart. I'm going to do it for her. Say, Snacky, why don't you do us both a favor and give up now? This way we can save the city a few $1 million in property damage. The goblin surrenders to no man, least of all someone who uses the word snacky. I don't know what it is about that word that seems to annoy people so much. Maybe I should. Hey, what's with the body parts flying all over the place? So I live and breathe. We're in a mannequin factory. How am I ever going to be able to tell the goblin from the other dummies? I love it. You idiot. All you're doing is endangering Normie. Get out of here and let me negotiate with him. Your concern couldn't be more touching if it were real, Norman. And by the way, your new goblin isn't half as good as you were. Maybe you'd better send him packing to the shop for repairs. We cut out Spider-Man's head there. Sorry. You think I work for him? The Green Goblin answers to no man, especially not that craven manipulating swine. Ah, the power seems to have returned to my glider, which means I can leave both of you pathetic morons behind and deal with the boy. Spider-Man, please, this one time we have to put our past behind us, whatever our quarrels may have been, however much we loathe each other. My grandson's life is at stake. Please, I'm begging you, stop the goblin and bring the boy back to me. Oh, Osborn. Those words and the desperation that resonates through them rings in Spider-Man's ears. For the first time, he wonders if he hasn't misread the situation and the man. It's being tricked! Now when did I put that stupid bag? Right here, Osborn, right here. Who the devil are you? And while Greg Hurd makes the necessary introduction, a breathless Clarence Fielding bolts down a Brooklyn street in pursuit of a flying demon, suddenly realizing that this is where the goblin has been hiding, and where the missing boy must be too. But Clarence isn't the only one who's come to that conclusion. Where is he? Where's Normie? What if I told you he was dead? What if I told you I slit his throat just a few hours after I snatched him? What would you say then? No words can do justice to Spider-Man's rage, or to the horror that overwhelms him as he considers the possibility of little Norman's death. This is such a brutal fight scene. And then, all too quickly, he has Spider-Sense kicking in big time, consider the possibility of his own. So he just got shot. Damn, son. The bullet wasn't meant for me. It was meant for the goblin, but who did it? Yes! In an alley that borders the junkyard, Jimmy Six prays that Ben Reilly is resting easier now. Even as the sounds of cocking guns makes it clear that, in a matter of seconds, he may be resting with right beside Reilly. Whoa, it ain't guacamole fortunato. Gotta thank you, Jimmy. Now we can collect on the Goblin, Spider-Man, and you. Ahem. Why don't you maggots drop your guns and get your fat butts back against the wall. You see, my pal the Punisher, he convinced me to lay off Spider-Man and Jimmy here. Well, we go way back. Oh gee. And that means the only way this evening ain't going to be a total bust is if I collect whatever rewards are posted on the 6 of you. And fellas, I can do it dead or alive. If it's all the same to me. That's the Punisher doing something cool. I still don't like the Punisher. Still kicking Goblin. Still kicking Goblin. You think my armor can protect me from a bullet? Please, I may be a lunatic, but I'm not stupid. Now do me a favor, will you, and die. The office, Clarence thinks. The Goblin was heading for it before Spider-Man cut him off. This issue's really long. Could that be where the boy is? And if it is he alive? The answer to both questions, thank God, is yes. Nobody's dying here today, Goblin. Not me, not Normie, not even you. At least not till I find out who you are and who put you up to this. But if you unmask me, that will destroy the mystique, the mystery, the suspense. Where's the fun in that? Let go of me, you big dummy. Normie, I want to stay here with Daddy. Daddy? So he thinks. The thought seems absurd, even as it forms in his mind. Could this Goblin be Harry Osborn back from the grave? But he was with Harry when he died. He was there when they buried him. Right, he thinks, just like they buried Norman. Wherever he is, Spider-Man decides, I've got to keep him busy. Give Clarence time to get the kid out of here. Oh my, I see somebody walking off with my property. I'm afraid I can't allow that. I hope you will pardon me if I wrap this up quickly, strangle the life out of you, and get on with my day. Go to the devil, Snacky. Go to the devil? Why, Spider-Man, don't you get it? I am the devil. You're a jerk. I love that reply. That does it. Now, you've made me mad? Wow, he's really bad at piloting that. Goblin, he couldn't pull out of his dive in time. Whoever he was, he's gone. Or so it appears. In a world where supervillains have a habit of returning with disturbing regularity, Peter Parker has learned to take nothing for granted. It is with great relief and greater exhilaration that I welcome my grandson home. His mother and I are profoundly grateful for the outpouring of support and sympathy that has helped sustain us throughout this nightmare. The people of New York have truly touched our hearts, but perhaps our greatest gratitude is reserved for the two men who are genuine heroes of this memorable day. Greg Hurd, who as Override saved me from the Goblin's clutches, and Clarence Fielding, who, without benefit of enhanced armor or superpowers, risked his life to save my little boy. Each of these men will receive $100,000 for his effort, and Greg, let me assure you that your poor wife's medical care will be completely taken care of by me. Anne Hurd will lack for nothing. I'm glad these guys are getting some recognition. They're pretty cool. She, like my grandson, will survive. Well, if I stand here any longer, I'll probably puke. You don't believe him, Ben? What do you think? You know, MJ, I'm not sure what to believe. If Osborn was acting, it was a performance of a lifetime. Either way, he's still the most twisted, despicable human being on 2 feet. True, and thanks to him, Spider-Man can't show his face anywhere in the city. So what can I do? Actually, I've got a few ideas. A nowhere place. How fortuitous for you, young man, that we had an escape plan in place. Or not even my ministrations would have been able to save you from being cremated in that explosion. As it is, I've had to grow some new layers of skin, repair some damaged nerves. To the naked eye, you are good as new. And we have the regenerating factor in my goblin formula to thank for it, don't we, Dr. Angst? Ah, Mr. Osborn, you startled me. I startled everyone, Wheeler. Remove the costume, Doctor. It's time to retire the Green Goblin for the moment. He certainly served your purposes well, Mr. Osborn. Oh yes, and he will continue to do so for some time. Things didn't work out exactly as I planned. Override and that pasty little man Fielding were unexpected intrusions, but I've always prided myself on turning the unexpected to my advantage. In the end, my identification with the Green Goblin has been broken. The public's sympathy continues to be swept in my direction, and Spider-Man remains a wanted criminal. Nay. And it was Sir the whole time. Then I played my part well, to perfection. You've made me very proud, my boy. Very proud. And next, Through the Looking Glass. Okay, I'm gonna stop for today. But we're going to the prelude for Spider-Man Identity Crisis next time. It is my favourite Spider-Man story. It's brilliant. We've got another couple of chapters before this book ends, and we'll move on to the next one. But thank you for watching, everyone. I'm sorry if the last chapter was a lot longer than I thought it would be. I thought it would end sooner than that, but that's alright. I hope you've enjoyed this stream as much as I've enjoyed doing it. And I'm sorry, today's comics have been very serious, but they get a bit less serious tomorrow. Amy says, great, or not tomorrow, next summer stream. Amy says, great stream, Rob. Thank you, Amy. Great moderating, Amy. And thanks again for letting me know about the sound levels. I like the fact you always tell me in a straight up, honest way about how the sound is, and I appreciate that. It's good. It's good teamwork. Anyway, I'm going to have a Ribena. I haven't had any liquid for the last 22 minutes, and my throat is dying. Farewell, true believers. Spider-Man web. There we go. I'll press the stop recording button and stop streaming button.